Friends, thank you for joining us here at Tabletop Titans for this very special hobby stream. Zach, I'm here with the quintessential Adrian.
What's up, guys?
And Adrian, I have a tree fact for you.
Oh, all right, let's see this.
Did you know there are more trees on Earth than there are stars in the galaxy?
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Really?
It's true. And in
That's
fact,
insane.
it's not even close. There's about 300 million or so stars in the galaxy.
Yeah.
4 trillion trees on Earth.
That's amazing.
4 trillion trees.
That actually is, really?
4 trillion
Wow,
trees.
that's pretty crazy. So trees are, they're kind of important, huh?
Trees are super important. They're important for a number of reasons in real life.
Yeah.
We're not going to go into that because it's very sciencey. We know it,
Yeah.
but we don't want to bore, right?
Naturally.
On the tabletop, trees are beautiful. We want to add trees because they add wilderness to even like a city, if we're adding trees. And maybe more importantly, trees add dimension.
Yeah.
They add vertical dimension. Somewhere in between like a tall ruin and the flat ground, right?
Yeah, they give you that kind of in between where you don't have to necessarily be building up all these tall layers, but they give some depth to it. And they also can serve a number of different functions, right?
Yeah, so I like trees because we can make forests with them, or we can just set random trees around, right? They don't have to have game rules, you know, in 40K in any game you're playing, but we can also make them have game rules.
Right.
So we're going to be making 2 different types of trees here today. One a little more familiar, something you might find on planet Earth, and one you will not find on planet Earth.
Oh, I could try.
There are 4 trillion.
That's true. You gotta tell me there's gotta be some weird ones out there.
There are some weird ones out there. Let's get creating. Okay, so here we go. The first type of tree we're going to make, very earthbound.
Yeah, this looks amazing. Very, very earthy, very rustic kind of earthy tones.
Yeah,
Pun not intended. Sorry.
No, and that's great. And it is because this tree is set in sort of like a desert canyon. I actually recently just took a trip across the American West.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And spent some time in Moab. And what I'll say is you get these beautiful clay canyons, lots of reds, and like you said, earthy tones. But there are just these bright green trees, olive green trees, pine kind of colored green trees. So it's just beautiful to have this combination of these reds and these greens. This board that you're seeing right here actually is an upcoming board for Tabletop Titans.
It's a little for you.
Yeah, you guys will see it on the stream pretty soon.
This is gorgeous, man. I love it.
Yeah, we're going to be working on a lot of stuff. Now, the tree itself, you guys may be wondering, where is that tree from?
Yeah, what is this kit?
So it's not exactly a kit. This is actually 3D printed. Yeah, we're going to be working with a lot of 3D printed stuff. This is from Printable Scenery, and if you just search Twisted Trees, what you'll find is the STL. And if you don't know what that means, it means, I'll be honest, I don't exactly know what it means. This is really Brett's territory. But what it kind of means is the tree file to print the tree with a 3D printer. So these are great because trees are otherwise kind of expensive. If you were to buy a Citadel wood, you get 3 trees. And it comes in at about $30, $40.
Right, yeah.
That ends up being, it's like $10 a tree.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
When you're trying to make a forest, $10 a tree, that's gonna hurt.
And that's the thing, like we've seen so many tables where it's like you have the forest, or maybe 2 forests if you're spoiled and you have like 6 trees total.
Yeah.
But if you want to make a full, really like forested board, or even like a moderately forested board, it gets expensive. It can be tough to find. So this is a really cool source for the base of your tree.
Definitely. Now, if you're using 3D printed trees, great. The stuff we're gonna do today, we'll talk about how you could do this with any nice tree kit, including the Citadel woods. Absolutely. In fact, we'll even look at some examples a little bit later of trees I've done from the Citadel tree kits, both the old one and the new one, actually. Any trees you get, whether it's 3D printed, the Citadel ones honestly are great.
They're awesome.
Or any third party, just make sure it's bumpy. Make sure
bumpy, you say?
Bumpy. It should have bark. Trees are bumpy. I was going to say barky. It's not the best word.
I like it.
You want stuff that can catch dry brush.
They need to have this texture to them, right? I think there's so many things about like I'll say the design of a tree, but like the shape of a tree that gets overlooked when people are even just drawing them or painting them, and when you're working on them, you really sense like you need that texture to kind of be working with a model in particular, which is actually something I love about these ones because they're even more textured than the original Citadel woods. They're closer to like the new modern ones, right?
Yeah.
Which is cool.
So, are you ready to make some trees, Adrian?
Let's make some trees.
Yeah, we're gonna make some trees. This is gonna be great. I get to work with Adrian step by step. It's gonna be a blast.
And I get to work with Zach. I have no idea what's about to happen.
So, we've got two components to paint here.
Right.
We've got the leaves, and we've got the trunk.
Sounds good.
Obviously, different processes here.
Naturally.
So, the way we're gonna do this is we're gonna paint the leaves step by step. And there might be a little bit of dry time that needs to happen.
Right.
So while each step of the leaves is happening, we will do a step of the bark.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, let's get going on some leaves. Grab
do
your
this
tree, yeah.
Oh yes. Which tree should I do? This
That one, yeah.
Ooh, I like it.
The one with leaves.
So this is primed. These leaves are awesome. You want to talk about these leaves?
Yeah, we should talk about how I got this far, right?
Yeah.
So Adrian, if you could actually do the over-the-shoulder
look.
view here. So what you're looking at is the 3D printed tree. I actually magnetize these.
Oh, right. And where are these leaves from? I think I recognize these ones.
Yeah, these leaves are from the old Citadel wood kit. Now, why do I have these? Well, people actually mostly hate these.
Yeah.
And the reason is they break off very easily.
Right.
This is why I've magnetized them.
Yes.
Now, I do have some of the old Citadel woods. A little bit later in the stream, we'll look at that, and you'll see that I did not use the leaves. But what I did instead is I saved them.
Right.
I've also had people in my play group locally just give me these leaves.
You know, so often I've seen just the trunks of the Citadel woods and not the actual leaf parts. Like, I'll be honest, you know, even I have the same kit, and all my leaves are in a baggie, right?
Yeah.
So it's a cool use of them, and you know, the magnetizing is pretty simple to do. It's going to help us also with this painting process, right?
Super going to help us with this painting process. And so I strongly recommend, if you have some of these old Citadel leaves laying around, magnetize them, put them on either the Citadel tree itself, you'll have to do a little bit of clipping, or a 3D printed tree.
I like it.
So that's what you're seeing here. And we're going to take off the leaves. Because that's what we're going to paint first.
Sounds good.
So
I should probably do the same, huh?
yeah.
I'm just dazzled.
So step by step here, we'll go through this. Let's start the leaves. What I'm going to do, we're going to be using some ugly brushes today.
Yeah, these these are amazing.
These are very ugly brushes.
Is this like pig hair?
If this is an animal's hair,
I feel bad for this animal.
I feel bad for you.
But this is important, right? Because this is super cheapo. Find it at like your hardware store, whatever kind of brush.
I got these at Home Depot this morning.
exactly.
Yeah, literally. Part of making these trees is doing it easily.
Yes.
Having them be this size is going to make it kind of an easy, quick process. I honestly timed out how long it takes me to make one of these trees. And it's about, actually, let me check. It's about 25 minutes or so a tree.
Okay, that's pretty good.
So
The funny thing is, like, I feel like painting terrain is at such a different scale than like painting models, right? We have giant brushes. There's like everything is like bigger. You have to use bigger tools, stuff like that, right?
Yeah. So our first step, we're gonna make our leaves green because this is an earth type tree.
Right.
But like I said, we're gonna actually be doing a drab sort of green.
Cool deal.
Because most trees in the forest setting, temperate forest or jungle, they're a little brighter.
Yeah.
In most kind of dry, arid climates, the trees tend to be a little more drab, olivey colored.
Right.
And that's the look we're gonna go for. Sometimes I like realism. Sometimes I like to do just what looks good. So
That's important though, right? Like you're not slave to it. You'll do whatever makes the most sense at the moment.
So we're gonna start with a very dark green. I'm actually using oh nope, not this one. This one. This is Citadel Air Death Corpse Drab.
Wonderful. Oh, it's literally called. It's an actual drab.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah. Now talk about paint choices here.
Yeah, totally.
And why am I using an airbrush paint? I actually really love Citadel Air, and I use it not only just through an airbrush.
Sure.
I kind of use it as my normal paint.
That's funny. That's a lot of people would be very surprised at that, I'm sure.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, half the stuff, the terrain you guys have seen on the channel is painted with Citadel Air.
Gives you that extra coverage, right? And I like it also because it's sometimes just easier to work with.
Yeah.
Like, I'll do the same thing, I'll be honest. Especially when I'm like airbrushing something and I'll be like, okay, I need to do some edge highlights afterwards, and I'll just take that air paint and just use it. It's overly pre-thin, but it's pretty thin. Right?
Yeah, I haven't bought a Citadel. I haven't bought a Citadel layer paint in a while, actually.
Wow. Then.
Okay, got my wet palette here. Maybe we could do like a top down. Let's look at this wet palette look here. So I am pouring a little bit of this, our first layer of green.
Oh, so beautiful.
Now, you might be wondering, well, we're doing leaves first here, so let's do that. But this is actually also going to be our base color for the bark, believe it or not.
Okay. It's a very gray green.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about what color tree bark actually is.
Wait, are they brown?
Tree bark is not brown. In fact, we even have a marker here, and I'm gonna write tree bark is not brown. Okay, now sometimes tree bark is brown, but usually it's really not.
Right.
We'll get there when we get there in a second.
Sorry, I just know it sets you off. So
It does set me off. Very triggered by brown tree bark. Okay,
all right, let's get into it.
So spread this out a little bit, and the technique we're going to really use here, I kind of call like wet brushing.
Okay.
There probably is an official word for it, but really I'm pretty sloppy here.
Right.
And I'm basically just kind of covering it.
Getting right into it.
Yeah, just kind of getting right into it. It's not pretty. I'm making sure it's it's a thin coat. Setting it aside here.
So you still have to do thin coats even with terrain, huh?
Well, the thing is, yes, always. But the thing is that we're going to be adding a lot of different colors onto this. Well, let's see. 3 more? 2 more?
Oh my goodness.
So each one is going to contribute to building up the colors.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I like it.
So no real.
Are you just doing the tops right now, and you're gonna come back to the bottoms? Or should
Yeah.
I be doing the bottoms as well?
We are going to do the bottoms. We're going to do the bottoms only this color.
Gotcha. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're not going to spend a lot of time on the bottoms.
Why is that, Zach?
Well, because usually you can't see the bottoms.
Ah, shocking.
So while we do want it to not be, primer black.
Yeah. Or plastic gray.
Or yeah, definitely not plastic gray. Yeah, these trees are all totally primed, including the bottoms of the leaves. While we don't want them to be, gray plastic or even black can be kind of striking. We don't really need to focus on them a lot.
Right.
I'll be honest with you guys. We're gonna take a lot of shortcuts when we paint terrain.
Sure, I think it's great. That's an important thing though, because it's like knowing where to put the effort when you don't need to. What are people actually noticing? And I say this at the same time. Your terrain turns out great. Like we subject it to close-up 4K footage, and it still looks amazing, right? So it's not like
I hope so.
You're cutting corners and you can tell. Like you're being smart about the way you do it. So.
Well, I try. Thank you.
That's my little plug for you.
Yeah.
I do like what you do.
Okay, so these are all covered for me. You're catching up?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Go ahead, keep going.
Okay, so then I'm gonna clean. And we have more of these brushes behind us, but I'm gonna just keep using this one.
Sounds good.
While this set of leaves dries, I'm gonna dry my brush.
Oh,
aggressive
fancy.
Brush drying, actually.
Yeah. Especially with these ones.
Yeah.
You're not worried about the lifespan?
Yeah, whatever animal this was dries easily,
Yeah.
at least.
Maybe a rhino. I'm starting to think it's rhino. These bristles are like. These are ridiculous.
Would these be $1.50 though if it was a rhino? I don't know.
Yeah. I'm gonna stop.
Yeah, I actually am curious. I didn't even think about if they're synthetic or. Okay. Sorry, it's making me laugh. Anyway, we'll move on. So
all right, let's keep going.
This is actually where we're going to next. We just did the leaves, but now we need to do the bark while the leaves dry.
Naturally.
So our first bark color, believe it or not, is also going to be Death Corpse Drab.
Wow,
now,
sounds great.
Unlike the wet brushing technique, we actually want completely the opposite of that for what we're about to do. We want to do a serious dry brush.
Oh, okay.
So what we're going to do, I'm going to stick this in here do a little twirl.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And get a lot of this off. Adrian and I are going to be passing this back and forth. Give it a little
I get to
shake.
do the twirl.
Get your twirl on.
Yeah.
And then here we go. So let me hold under the light a little bit more. You may not see a lot of change as I start doing this because it's just the first color. And we don't really have to be like elegant or anything. We can just go for it, especially with this first color.
Right.
I'm coming back to my dry spot a little bit, which still is a little wet. You can see we're turning a little green here, but it is truly a drab.
We got that. There we go. Your fabulous hair was in the way.
Yeah. So you can see this is like not hard, meaning you guys need to get onto it. This reminds me of another tree quote, Adrian.
Tree quote.
Tree quote.
We're
Sorry, we
quoting
had
trees
a tree fact. There's a proverb, and I actually looked into where this proverb comes from.
Yeah. Okay.
And I found out that this proverb we attribute as a Chinese proverb, but I found a user in Reddit who said he's from China, and on the Chinese Reddit, version of Reddit, they say this is an English proverb.
Oh, that's so funny.
We've all heard it. The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree? Right now.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's perfect. The best time to start terrain for you and your buddies.
Yeah.
Honestly, you guys screwed up. It was like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
The second best time.
It's too late for you.
Right now.
It's so funny because like terrain matters so much. We've talked about on the channel how terrain is the third army, the battlefield's the third army, and yet so many of us, myself included, like my home terrain set is severely lacking. I'll just say, but it's so important and it adds so much. So it's important to really give it that love. It's never too late to get started.
Never too late. Your orc board? I love your orc board.
My orc board is a newer one, but my like all-time board is it's just like city ruins, and it's not the best. My orc board was actually inspired from your work.
Oh, wow.
A lot of I made that pretty recently, and that was really from seeing what could be done with terrain.
Nice. I'll take it.
Yeah, man. All right,
it's nice to be humble, but it's nice to take a compliment when you get a compliment.
You deserve it.
Okay, so take a look here. I'm actually going to set this on our glam cam.
Oh, I totally just did this on the leaves. No, yeah, that's right. Okay, cool.
Let's see how it shows up here.
Let's take a look.
Let's actually have a comparison of the full black one.
That's a good point. Wow, there you go. So brown, huh?
It does look kind of brown.
Well, that's the thing, right? It's like I'm not gonna say suggesting a type of color, but like there's no such thing as like a solid color in nature, in reality, or whatever. Like the moment you put it in any kind of lighting that's not like a graphics engine in a computer, it's affected by all these different things, and there's like micro textures on and all these kinds of things. So nothing is ever a single color, right?
Yeah, and actually I would encourage anyone, go out right now and look at tree bark. It's not brown. Excuse me, guys.
No worries. You're good.
So, it's grays, it's greens, it's blacks, it's reds. It is browns. There is brown in tree bark.
Oh, too late. You said it. Nope.
Yeah, you're gonna see actually how we sort of get that look.
Yeah.
But it's just this amazing thing that nature does. If you've ever been laying in your bed at night and you're looking up at a white ceiling, and you look up at that ceiling and you go, boy, during the day, I know my ceiling is painted white, but I cannot tell what color that is right now. And I don't know, it's rods or cones. Someone's gonna tell us, but I can't remember if it's rods or cones.
Some eyeball thing.
Something that affects how we see color.
Right, naturally.
But you look at that and you're like, I guess it's gray. I want to say that's gray, but I don't think that's gray. Your brain is confused. Look at tree bark. You're like, I think it's gray. I think it's green. It's just like all over the place.
No,
also, there are a lot of trees, not just types, but there's also actually 4 trillion trees on Earth, as we talked about.
Yeah, exactly.
So bark varies, of course, guys. I understand that. But brown, I don't know. Not too common.
Not too much.
Okay, we are done with this step. We are done with the step of making this kind of drab.
I'm liking it. I think I finally caught up.
Yeah, I feel like our leaves are still a little damp.
Yeah.
And our trunk is quite dry.
Yeah.
So let's move on to our second trunk color.
Let's do that.
Okay, we are going to only increase a little bit here. I just used Death Corpse Drab. Mm-hmm. Adrian and I are now going to use Castellan Green.
Castellan green. I love Castellan green.
Yeah, so
It's a very like army olive kind of thing.
it is
right?
really like a very army green,
Yeah.
and I want to be clear on that because I want to give you guys options if you're not going to use Citadel, right?
Right, totally.
You're going to start with a very dark, kind of drab army green, and you're going to go up to a slightly less dark drab olive green. Now, depending on your line of paint,
Yeah.
I love some of these lines of paints that historicals players use,
Yeah.
and it's like German army tank,
Yes.
1942 to fall of 1943, African division, and then like, and I'm just like, I don't get it.
And like, oh, it's best to go brown, you know?
Exactly. I love these like.
That's where I'm at.
It's a fictional monster from
Yeah.
one universe. Yeah. Okay, so same thing. Dry brushing away here.
Sounds great. I'm gonna let mine dry just a little bit. We do have a couple super chats. I've been keeping an eye on chat, guys. It's so good to see you all here chatting and showing your support. So thank you, first of all. I keep my eye.
Yes.
We have one from one Megan, who you may know.
Oh,
This
yes.
is your wife.
This is probably my wife.
What kinds of effects do you think we could get if we made brushes out of Zach's hair? This is what I want to know, honestly. This is the real question. I don't know how straight it would stand up, to be honest. It'd be like a whip. You'd be like,
Guys,
that's a good look.
I have not had a haircut in calendar year 2020 or so far 2021.
Oh my God. When will it stop? I hope never. You should just keep growing it.
Yeah, you know, I'm into it. It started as a COVID thing,
Right.
but then my hair has these different lengths.
Mm-hmm.
When it's very short, I'm like okay with it. Then it has like this medium length, and I hate it.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
normally cut it back down to being short.
That's where most people stop, honestly.
But if you keep pushing, guys, if you keep pushing, your hair will get to a length, and you're like, wait a minute, it just got cool again. At least to me.
If
So
you just keep pushing the hair out of your head,
Keep
it will
pushing.
get cool.
guys, eat a lot of vitamin E, almonds.
Yeah.
I don't know what else has vitamin E.
I don't know. Elephants.
Weird.
I'm just thinking about African animals today.
We're
I don't know why.
just annihiling the savannah
So
today,
sorry.
Adrian.
We started talking about trees and the environment, and I was thinking about animals. I don't know, man. Cool. Well, this is looking awesome. It's really coming into its own. And I think one thing that's important to mention here is, so we're not using an airbrush at all, right? And we talked about, you mentioned the fact that this green is very similar to the last green. And that's something that's really important when you're doing brush work, is like building up these colors more gradually in a way that you're not doing with like a single color with like different fades, right?
Right.
It's an important technique, and it's one that's really like suited to brush work.
Up until now, by the way, if you guys are wondering, as we dry brush these trees, am I doing any kind of specific pattern? Am I hitting some areas more than other areas?
I hope
The
not, I'm
answer
not.
is no.
Okay.
Not yet. Now, with our next color on the bark, we will. That's where we actually will start doing things a little differently.
Yeah.
Which means that where we're at right now, Adrian,
Yeah.
if we can get a look, yeah, maybe,
where?
yeah.
I got you, man.
If we can get a look, where we're at right now is kind of like where we're gonna have the tree be colored, and you can see
Yeah.
your eyes are telling you it's what, greenish black?
Yeah, exactly. It's got some moss on it. It definitely has some moss, because, you know.
Because we love moss.
moss,
I
sorry.
love moss. Yeah. Yeah. So this is sort of like the color, kind of in a way.
Right.
If you want to think about it that way. But next things we start doing, we're going to be a little more specialized.
Sounds great. Shall we take some more questions real quick?
Yeah, sure.
This one's from GK. Hi Titans, just hopping in. I just started Sylvaneth and will enjoy watching this after work. Do you have any proxies for GW's overpriced Wildwood? Haha. Funny thing we do, actually. Well, there's the 3D printed files here. Obviously, you mentioned they're from Printed Scenery.
Printablescenery.com
Yeah.
is where Brett and I got the STL.
It's so
Yeah.
funny, because when Brett first brought in these trees, I was like, I've seen those trees. And I passed over them because I was like, I don't know what to do with them. Like, they're cool, but like, what are you going to do with
Yeah.
them? And then you guys are like, we're doing this thing. Like, that's amazing. Do you have a, so one thing that you guys did, I will mention, is you did actually a collaboration, right? Brett loves doing the 3D printing stuff. He taught me everything that I know about printing, and you like these other parts of it. So it was a cool collaboration where he could do that, bring them to you. Like, not every day, but like constantly. Like Brett would come in with like another box of trees for you.
Yeah.
Which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, Brett and I are like one hobbyist put together. I'd like to
separated at
say
birth.
I'd like to say I think we're a good one together.
I think so.
But Brett is really into like I don't know, computers.
Yeah, they're like technically based work, right?
Bringing computers into the hobby. And like, listen, I'm an arts person, but I'm not like anti-computers, right?
No, you're just anti-PC.
Okay, I'm okay with PCs.
They're just not okay with you.
Yeah.
Are there any other like places that you can go to for trees? It's kind of tough to find, isn't it?
Yeah, honestly, it is. I've used really, in all my time making terrain, I've been really subjected to shelling out the $10, $15 a tree from Citadel.
Yeah.
They're great trees. You get a good product, but they are pricey, and like we said. So there are pine trees that I've used that we're going to work on in the future.
Yeah. Different like style of tree.
Different styles. But as far as like a deciduous tree like this, you know, I don't know any great third-party ones that are just printed, made, boom, here they are.
Yeah.
Chat, let us know if you guys know any, but I really don't. So these 3D printed ones coming out, big deal.
They're great, and I don't know. Sometimes you'll find people are just doing the printing of this, and will like sell that. There's different licenses for each kind of different printed file, but I've also seen that where there's like you can buy the file or you can buy printed ones. So keep an eye out for that. Just to, it's a Google away, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully. Cool. So let's keep going.
Okay, so if we can look top down here for a second, you guys will see that I've got the next layer of paint here on my wet palette.
Nice.
By the way, I will say, no airbrush today. Ooh, this is a little goopy, but I think we'll be okay.
Goopy.
Yeah, we're gonna probably have to get a little bit of it off. I may just add a little water to this.
Okay. Thin some paints, I like it.
Yeah, thinning a little paint here with water. Now, which is actually what I love about a wet palette. What I was starting to say is, you guys will notice no airbrush. However, for me, I'm pretty much either using an airbrush in my projects, or I'm using a wet palette in my projects.
Right.
There are very few circumstances, whether it's terrain or miniatures, where I'm not using one or the other.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think one thing that is important to you, and I know it's important to me, is like not being afraid of these tools.
Yeah.
Like airbrushes are great tools. Wet palettes also have not a bad reputation, but they're known for being very intimidating. They're really not. They're actually quite easy to use.
They're quite easy to use. So, okay, here we go. What I'm doing is I'm taking now Strachan green, which is kind of like a medium, but still again olivey drab green. And I'm making sure I don't have too much on my brush.
Right, you're kind of smattering the middle.
I'm smattering the middle.
So we're kind of creating a fade, right?
We're creating a fade. It's not a tight airbrush kind of elegant fade.
Different style.
But this is a tree.
Exactly. I'm actually going to get some more water on mine as well. Get it a bit more splotchy like yours. That's really nice.
Yeah. So you don't have to worry about, if you're thinking, am I doing this right?
Yes, you are.
You probably are. Yeah, you're probably doing it right. There's not a lot. Terrain is very forgiving. Let's put it that way.
It's a great way to try out different techniques. I think I put too much water here. See, it's okay. You can mess up just like me.
Yeah.
You're like, where did Zach? All right, so let's see. Let me add some more there. And get it here. Nice. This is great. We're starting to see it kind of come to life there.
Now, I say you can't mess up, and I stand by that. But why that ends up being the case, why this is so forgiving. By the way, I'm even right now, this is still a little wet from the previous color, and I'm still just going with it. It's gonna be fine.
Exactly.
Here's why. Our next two steps are actually our final two steps on the leaves.
Ooh.
So we are done with working with, layering here now at this point.
Right.
If you want to call it that even.
Totally.
And what we're about to move on to for the leaves is a wash. We're gonna coat them with a wash. And then we're gonna dry brush the final highlight over top of them. And I call washing and dry brushing, I kind of call them like sloppy steps.
Right.
Meaning they will, I don't know, they're the Instagram filters of painting, right? Your photo looks okay, you put an Instagram filter on, you play with the settings a little bit, and it looks amazing.
Yeah,
So-
before and after Nuln Oil, man. That's a world of difference. right
Exactly. Yeah. So use these tools, like Adrian's saying, use these tools to your advantage. This is not particularly technical. Do you feel like you're
there. No, I don't feel.
you're accomplishing anything here because you're good
No,
naturally at
no,
something?
no. Exactly. And that's so important. It's easy to like get stuck in like fancy techniques and all that stuff, which is great. I'm not saying anything bad about that. But it's also important to know like simple techniques, effective techniques to get your stuff out there. Like the reality is like people have like day jobs, and you want to be able to get the most out of your time. You want to be able to make your terrain beautiful. You want to be able to play with it, and so the efficient use of your time and your skills by this kind of extension of that are super important. So that's great.
Yeah. You and your gaming group should be able to get together and like assembling lines and trees.
That's a good idea, actually. Yeah.
Okay, while this dries,
Yes.
we're going back to the bark. And
Let's do that.
here is where the bark gets really exciting, guys.
Gonna get brown.
It's not going to get brown. Well, it is going to get brown eventually. It's going to get there by way of this guy right here. This
what's
is Squig Orange.
Yeah. Man after my own heart.
Yeah, so
Very like red brown, right?
yeah, so we've got over the shoulder. Great. So what I'm going to do with Squig Orange is orange. Sorry, guys. I'm originally from the East Coast, but on the West Coast, they say orange.
Hey, wait, what are you trying to say? Orange?
I say orange.
Orange?
Like orange like a pirate, yeah.
I like that. It's kind of better.
So, dry brush again. I got a big Squig Orange blob here now in front of me.
Very nice.
Really want to make sure you get a lot of this off. I'm going to dry brush a lot of areas. Now, for this color, we do need to be a little bit, just have a thought process of where we're putting it.
Yeah.
Where I like to put it, I'll show this finished example here. Where I like to put it on this particular tree is kind of on the tops of the roots.
Okay.
And then what I'll do is I'll find maybe like a bark vein that's going up. I'll show you guys this as I do it. And I kind of like to highlight one vein. I'll show you here. So
Makes sense.
first I kind of go around and just put a little of this on here.
A little smattering.
Yeah, look, it's right away you're like, oh, this looks
That looks awesome.
It looks awesome. It looks a little weird. So then I kind of look on this tree and I say, all right, how's this tree going to sit on the tabletop? I like this angle right here. You can see it sticks out a little bit more
Absolutely.
compared to this side.
Oh, that's interesting.
I'm going to follow it up. Now the STL file here that Brett and I have, it's actually, I think, 4 different trees.
Right.
And then the other cool thing Brett does for us is that he changes the sizes. And that's so cool. Yeah, so
yes.
we've got 4 different trees, and then Brett can change the size. And then when he gives them to me, I'll clip certain things off. In fact, you need to clip off to get the magnets on. These are actually a little more pointy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
So you can see we now have...
It's kind of like heavier at the bottom and more kind of lightly over the rest
Yep.
of it. I like that.
Excuse me.
No worries.
So,
Ooh, it's so good. Let me get you guys an over the shoulder.
yeah.
Take a look at that.
Highlights kind of here. Here's the vein I followed up. I did still put some on the top. I got some on the branches. You know, it's looking a little orange, pink, red kind of a thing going on here. We'll see the finished product. We have a few more layers to put on here.
Right.
I think we're actually going to jump into the next layer again while we wait for our leaves to dry.
Absolutely. I like it. Shall we take a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Thank you, Crusader Kerbo. Loving those aprons. This is giving me inspiration to finish the terrain I made from polyethylene packing foam. Yeah. Thank you for amazing content. That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
a classic material to work with, right?
Packing foam is, it is interesting, and Kerbo was actually, I think, chatting with me a little bit on the stream last night about it, because the Martian board has that face that we play on.
Yeah, it's classic.
Yeah, and that face is actually, I think he was maybe the one asking. The face is actually like beauty schools use
like
these,
a mannequin head.
Yeah, to like comb a wig on.
If you're in the U.S., you can find those at like Michael's, I think.
Yeah, I actually think I ordered it online. Same with the hand. The hand
Yeah.
is like meant to be set down and have like rings
The
displayed
jewelry,
on
right.
it. Yeah.
That's awesome use of kind of just found stuff. Just because chat's moving fast and I don't want to lose any of these, let's take one from Jarl DM, or Jarl. priming my new Blood Knights and Vamp Tower while I watch. Vamp Tower, sorry. Love this chill hobby hang. Legit looks like a TV show. Keep up the great work. Thanks so much.
Oh, thank you.
This has been a long time in the making. We've been, we did some hobby streams long time ago, funny enough, because of the start of COVID. And now we have these amazing, talented people joining us. And honestly, they've been working their butts off getting this new studio set up. So now we can once again just do a bunch of hobby content. So many things planned ahead. It's going to be really, really awesome stuff. So thank you so much, Gerald, for your support.
And also, big thank you, Adrian's talking. Well, to Adrian for one. He's shown us a lot of the ropes on how to do this, Brett and I. But also a big thank you, well, to Brian. But he's been,
Brian who?
Yeah, I know. Brian's going to come back and just like be blown away by what's going on. Big thank you to Bridger, honestly. Bridger, everything Bridger set up for the normal stream, the gaming stream.
Totally.
He had to redo that here.
Yeah.
Just crazy.
Rebuild a whole another studio, work out all the kinks. And as always, we're still working on stuff. It's never a final product, right? It's always more plans, more bigger, more better. So really, really happy to be here doing this on this lovely Wednesday.
Wednesday.
I'm like not even used to streaming on Wednesday. I'm like, what day is it?
Yeah. Okay, so Adrian is cleaning his squig orange off his brush.
I am.
And what I've done now, we just did Strachan green, which is like our medium kind of olivey green.
Cool deal.
We just did that on the leaves. Now we're actually going to do it on the tree. And this is going to be the last thing we do to the bark.
Whoa!
Believe it or not.
I mean, they are looking great. So.
Yeah, so what this is going to do, as we dry brush Strachan green over the squig orange, and really over most of the tree in general, what this is going to do is turn it sort of gray.
Yeah.
So I'm just starting, I'm doing the same thing here. Yeah. You can see it's toning down the orange, but the orange still lives there, if that makes sense.
Exactly.
That's kind of the way I think about like a lot of things I see in nature, rocks and trees. It's like there's a color, but another color lives on top of that color now. And there's another color. And you know what? That is kind of how nature works because
it really is.
Time happens and this fungus grows and then the fungus dies, or this geological era happens and there's more iron in the earth during this time.
And the water like comes down and washes some of it away, but now it's in the crevices at the bottom.
Exactly.
You get a certain kind of grime and dust build up over time.
Exactly. So by doing this, we're really ending
this one?
Strachan.
Thank you.
So we're really ending the orange era of this tree. But you know what? The orange is still there. It's still underneath.
An undertone.
And that's an undertone. Yeah. That's the word I'm looking for. I would have honestly blabbed endlessly.
Why are you looking for the word?
Talking about how it grew there and how, this is the time of Strachan green.
That's right. This is, after the Cretaceous period, we have the Strachan period, which everyone knows.
Okay, now, this guy's actually done.
That's beautiful.
So I'm going to put this on our glam cam.
Please do.
Yeah.
Let's take a look.
And take a look, folks.
Yeah. Glam it up.
There it is.
Ah, so beautiful.
Still kind of see the orange, but toned down quite a bit.
I'm loving this. Is magic. Wow. Really, really cool. And that's where you can get you can see if at a glance you'd be like, trees are brown. You're like, no. They are tones kind of around brown, adjacent to brown, combinations of these other things. And you can totally see it in there. It's much more subtle.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's weird. Really, I know it sounds insane.
Yeah.
But go look at some trees. Where I live, we have kind of a park around us. And leading up to this week, I've been looking at tree bark, and it's just like there's yellows, there's browns, there's oranges, there's reds, greens, all kinds of warm colors, honestly.
Absolutely. And so much depending on the environment and, I was going to say board, but the real world board, which is where you're living essentially, and you can really be telling a story through that.
Yeah. Adrian, let's see yours in the glam cam.
Oh no, I'm scared. That's mine. It's beautiful. Not as nice.
No, I think it looks great.
Thank you. Too much orange?
Well, from Adrian and I have this TV we're looking at, and I think it's pulling out orange and red a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think it's pulling out orange and red a little bit more because I'm looking at mine. I thought mine was too orange.
No,
but
yours is much more muted. I think so. I should go back and with a very, very like taking almost all the paint off, go over that orange. You think, or stylistic choice?
Listen, it's a maybe. I'm looking at it over here now. Yeah, maybe like a little bit of striking
it's
green.
pretty orange. Yeah.
Yeah, which is fine. I can get us going on the next step.
Let's do it. What is the next step?
The next step is. Well, my leaves are still a little wet. How are you? Still a little damp.
Fine.
So we have a minute.
Oh, no. I just put more orange on my brush.
Oh. Not a good way to fix too much orange. More orange.
Hey man, this is an orc tree, okay?
This is tree, yeah.
You want to take a question while we wait?
Yeah, sure.
All right, thank you, Mike H5. At 16, I had a table saw accident that severed my index finger, and they had to rebuild my thumb around wire mesh. That's nuts. My middle finger isn't so great either. Any tips for painting whilst partially disabled? That's a great point, actually. So index, middle, they had. I'm just trying to figure out which finger it is, right? I think one thing that I find myself doing is it's a little bit different for everyone. Like I was a kid that constantly had like pencil holders because I would say, oh, you don't hold your pencil right or whatever. And with painting, I've learned to kind of learn what works ergonomically for me, right? And often I'll use like a random finger, like a pinky, to sort of rest something on. With terrain, it's not as bad because they're big surfaces. But with like tiny models, I'll literally like rest it in kind of a strange way that's like comfortable for me, and then just kind of like use the angles, right? I think one thing that people miss a lot, and you can probably speak to this as well, is when you're doing something like an edge highlight, for example, you don't rely on being accurate, right? You don't want to say, I'm going to paint this line straight down the edge. You want to take the edge of your paintbrush, and let's say this is the surface, you want to go this way, right? And that actually requires less accuracy than trying to do it exactly perfectly. So I think it's like looking for those affordances, ways of like propping things up, leaning things against each other, even if it's like your finger or paint handle.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense. It does make sense. Mike, I'm not going to pretend to know your plight. I think Adrian's advice is good. Any tips on painting with a disabled hand? We're lucky we don't have disabled hands.
Yeah.
I think what I would say is Adrian's point about like learning a technique and then making that technique work for you. Yes. So like think about the technique. The technique is dry brushing.
Right.
The technique is wet brushing, which we did to start off our leaves.
Yeah.
And see where you can apply those techniques. And honestly, I'll give you the same advice I give people who are asking about airbrushing for the first time. Start with terrain.
Yeah.
It's so forgiving. You need it. Again, I know you all need it. I know you all need terrain.
We know you need terrain.
We know you need terrain. Fully painted terrain. We know you guys need that. I would say find some terrain, find some big things. Trees are great. People will say, all the Games Workshop stuff, the Citadel stuff, it's so expensive. But let me explain something that you get from Citadel.
Sure.
They build their models, and this becomes very apparent when you're working with their terrain. They build their models to take your paint.
Yeah,
that's true. Sounds weird, but they know how to make a round. My main army has been Tau forever. They know how to make a rounded devilfish take edge highlight. Like,
it's true.
It's even better for their ruined kits. It's so good. There's other great brands out there. I've made Pegasus Hobby has great runes, but I love the Pegasus Hobby runes, but it does not take edge highlighting. It does not take these techniques.
No.
There are amazing painters. If you guys have seen the stream and you've seen their Necron army painted by Israel Sanchez, or their AdMech army that's being featured this week, painted by Colin Ward, Legalized Mischief, those guys are awesome technical painters.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they can get in and do things that I just don't have the dexterity and practice for. Anyone can get there. It's just they've put in the work. Terrain opens you up to so many. Just like, here's a technique. It's not that bad.
Right.
But it's easy once you learn how to do it for yourself, Mike. So I would say, Mike, pick the technique one at a time. Focus on it. Practice on terrain. That'd be my advice.
Absolutely. I think that's very well said. All right, so I think I fixed my orange. It's a bit better.
Yeah, looks amazing
more
from here.
muted.
Yeah, yeah, it looks great. And by the way, remember, these are trees. Terrain's forgiving. Like trees don't look the same.
Yeah.
No tree looks
It's
the
just,
same.
happy little mistakes.
Happy mistakes. Happy little mistakes. There. No. Yeah. And of course, remember also when we're talking about trees, there are 4 trillion trees, AJ. So there's so many ways a tree could look.
I know that now. Yeah.
Okay, this guy's done. So
I like
up here
it.
now we are going to have to add leaves to it.
Sure.
So, the leaves are still looking a little damp.
Do you want to come back to them later on?
We could come back to them. We
Yeah.
could get going on our next tree,
Whoa.
which is going to be a little more alien.
Sure.
So we had some clips, but maybe they're not working. It
Some
looks like
loading
so.
issues, yeah.
That's okay. We can put it on the glam cam.
The glam cam.
So
let's take a look.
here's the next tree we're going to make.
Yeah. Very alien, which is cool.
Okay, so I'm going to kind of hang out over here and point to a few things going on. First, the thing you guys probably noticed right away is that it's glossy on the bottom.
Yeah, that's wild.
Well, we'll try to, at some point, show you some clips of where this tree is eventually going to live.
Right.
But it's another board that's coming up for use on the Tabletop Time stream,
my
their
goodness.
gaming stream. And it is set in a alien world mangrove forest.
That's cool.
The mat for this board is actually like shallow Caribbean colored water, like kind of aqua water. So the armies will be trudging through shallow water. The tree lives in the water, so we
Right.
high gloss the bottom here. And that's why you see that gloss.
I love what you did there. That just looks amazing. And that's just a gloss. That's not an actual
That's
color,
just a
right?
gloss,
But it's
yeah.
again suggesting that material. Very
This
cool.
this is going to be the final step of our night. Let's talk about everything else we did. It's pretty much what we just did, but
Sure.
actually even less work for a couple of reasons. One, let's go to the top of the tree, which also might be what you're focusing on.
Yeah.
Because it's not quite normal leaves.
It's so weird.
We have these sort of fuzzy little blue guys here. We were saying earlier that it looks a little weird when I touch things on the glam cam like that, so we're not going to do it too much. But you can see those fuzzy little blue straws. My thinking is, it's an alien world, and it's just got this bizarre way of collecting water from the air.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah, it immediately makes you think, like, why would it grow that way? What does it do? And it takes the tree that, like, just a second ago, we were looking at as a very normal kind of earthbound tree. And this is the same base model, but actually using these tufts with this really bright colors to make it something completely weird and alien.
Yeah, and why would it grow that way? Hey, guys, I don't know. I really don't know.
You know what? There's 4 trillion trees.
There's 4 trillion trees on Earth, Adrian. This tree is in an alien world. So we have a little bit less work to do, and we're going to talk about why I came to this choice here to put these guys there. And then, other than that, we've just got to dry brush some bark, and that's going to be pretty much the same process we just did. We're going to use some different colors. We are going to do one more step on this that we didn't do.
different step.
Yeah, and we'll talk about why.
Sounds
So,
good. This is my alien one.
this is your alien one.
Alien one.
Okay, the first color we are going to dry brush our alien
Yeah.
tree is honestly one of my favorite colors.
Wait, is it Vallejo blue-green?
It's similar. It's the Citadel version of that. Which they call Incubi.
It's actually very close.
Yeah,
yes.
you'll love this. It's called Incubi
down.
Darkness. Yeah, I love this color. This is an example of a color that right away gives us that thing that makes trees kind of wacky, which is
Right.
that we don't really know what color this is. Like whenever I look at Incubi Darkness,
Yeah.
I remember I was talking about Incubi Darkness with a friend, and I said something about being kind of like a blue, and he was like, "It's like a green, right?"
Right.
And I'm like, "I guess it's
Was
kind
it the gold dress or the white dress? What was it on the internet?
yeah. So Incubi Darkness is going to be our base, and you can actually see here with Death Corpse Drab and Incubi Darkness, the theme is some color that is very dark
Yeah.
and has its foot in 2 doors.
Yes, exactly.
Death Corpse Drab is a green that's a little, I'll admit, a little brown.
Yeah, a little gray even.
And a little gray, a lot gray actually. Littlest of brown. Incubi Darkness, it's again kind of green, kind of blue.
It's a really weird, cool color. but very like natural feeling at the same time.
Yeah, so I love this color. And I don't have any models that really use this color.
It's a color I've always liked, but I've never found like, what am I gonna put this on, right?
Yeah.
I think in fact I own it. I've never used it just because I like bought it. I was like, this is cool. I'll use it for something, and I'm like, what am I gonna use it on? Trees.
Here's the thing about Incubi Darkness.
Yeah, tell me how it is.
I like bright models.
Yeah.
So I would never end with Incubi Darkness. Now I actually said I don't use Incubi Darkness. That's actually a lie. It's the base of my Tau.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's the first kind of color.
I would have never guessed.
Yeah, I don't use Incubi Darkness. I use the Minotaur version.
Right.
Which, again, I forget the name
Yeah,
of, but it's probably...
the equivalent,
Yeah.
That, and again, just to kind of recome to that point, we're talking about GW brands and paints and things like this, but they apply to anything, whatever you're using, so.
Yeah, I don't know what era of World War II, what 6 months...
I'm deeply offended.
...and location of World War II would use this color.
So this is another dry brush, right?
Another dry brush.
gosh, it
real
looks amazing
simple,
already.
easy stuff. Yeah, I love the way this color picks up on black.
Oh my gosh, and it once again really it speaks to the importance of the texture on that model too. Like at least on mine, I assume for yours as well. It's picking up on these like raised bark portions and not as much in the recesses, which is just amazing. Oh my gosh, I love it.
Yeah. So why these colors for this tree, and why the other colors for the other tree?
Yeah.
Well, this tree again, kind of in like a mangrove forest, very wet, and whenever I pick colors for my terrain, I usually kind of think about, well, one, I'm kind of stuck with matching to a mat,
Naturally.
to some degree.
Well, that's a good point. Like, do you want to, not to derail you, but that's something that I think is super important to your work.
Yeah.
So Zach, who obviously does pretty much all of our boards, he color matches everything. You know, you'll get the matte first, and then you'll match things to that. You'll get the exact paint that matches that. It's almost like going to Home Depot, like for the tile that matches your like kitchen to your countertop kind of thing.
Yeah.
But for the mattes, and that's really one thing that ties together all these different kits, from like 3D print stuff to GW kits to like foam, or like even random stuff that he's just kind of found at stores. And so it's a really powerful thing. So I just want to mention that because it's something I really learned from you. So
that's a big part of it. What we're actually going to do for the last step of this tree is going to tie that all together, and you're going to see really what I do. We're going to talk about, we'll talk about this a lot actually, but starting today, tinting your terrain.
Yeah. Yep.
And how do we tint our terrain? What colors do we choose to tint? I choose to really, overall, I really only tint a few different colors.
Interesting.
But they say a lot about that environment, right? So we did not tint our first, this guy, right? We actually didn't tint this guy.
No.
Tint is, to me, means we're gonna kind of spray it down with, honestly, well, we could spray it if we airbrush, but we don't have to, and we won't today.
Sure.
With like a GW wash, Citadel wash, or any brand of wash.
So you could like, would you take that finished product and then put the wash over it?
That's what we're gonna do with this guy.
okay.
Yeah, with the blue one.
Yeah.
Why didn't I tint this one? Well, again, we're in like a dry, arid desert climate.
Right.
And while I do imagine this taking place in a verdant canyon inside of this desert,
Yeah.
lots of plants growing around. Desert plants don't quite work the same way as temperate, and especially a mangrove swamp where the armies will be fighting in water.
Right.
Plants get everywhere. I just said I was in Moab. I lived for a couple of years in the southern U.S. in Louisiana.
Right. Yeah.
And plants grow on top of plants there somehow. It's one of the craziest things you could possibly imagine, but they have ferns growing on top of other trees.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's plants will get everywhere if you let them. What lets them? Water.
If you let them.
Right?
You gotta keep those plants in place.
Exactly. So we have water all over this board.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
When you guys see it, I hope you'll like it.
I love it.
And this tree is going to reflect that. It's going to reflect life growing all over it. So
Sounds great.
how are we looking here?
Looking amazing. I love this. Let's take a question while we're here.
Yeah.
Thank you, Thomas Greer, Hobby Hangout. Gasp. This from Three Amigos. 5 minutes ago, put my brush down, picked up the iPad, and now us three are hobbying tonight. My DA Vengeance it gets its swag. Love the trees. Awesome. Thanks so much. Well, there you go. An inspiration to everyone. Hobbying is really, really fun to do in a group. Just like if you're hanging out with friends. I do all the time with Mel when we're just like watching TV. It's funny. It's such a good communal activity. So thank you, Thomas, as always.
You and I were actually talking, and this is going to sound a little bit like a Zach Adrian brag. So we can focus more on Adrian. So at least I'm not bragging about myself. But
you can brag about yourself.
I cannot sit. We were talking about this. We struggle to sit still and just watch a show, or even like. Yeah, I can't.
I can't just sit and like watch a movie. It's like, hey, this is a weird thing. I don't like going to movie theaters very much because it's like, hey, you want to go sit down for 3 hours and not be able to move or do anything else? And it's not that I don't want to pay attention to the movie or TV show or whatever. It's just like, I love doing that. I love like doing stuff and kind of thinking about that. And I don't know. It's something that's really special and important to me. Like it helps manage that like energy. You know, you and I are very similar. In that regard.
I'm the same way. I need to be doing something, and fortunately, my wife is too. So she'll knit, and I'll be doing this, and we're kind of half watching. We watch a lot of bad movies that way.
It's good, yeah.
We like to watch like these bad movies and then listen to the "How Did This Get Made" podcast, where they just make fun of it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we really have to like pull ourselves away and be like, let's sit on the couch and watch a nice movie, no hobbying. No. And even then I'm like,
I know, right? You're thinking about it too, right?
I'm thinking about it. Okay, now, we have sort of neglected our leaves as they dry.
Yeah.
They're a little damp, but guess what? That's gonna, I think, be kind of cool when we add a wash to it. Now, I do know that it will be cool. In fact, I did this not long ago.
It's almost like you've done this before.
Yeah, I literally did, actually. I can show you guys.
Oh, yeah.
This one right here, I don't know how well you guys can see this close up here, but this one right here, my left hand, was done about an hour before the stream.
Yeah.
Because I had practiced mostly and set up our examples, like this one.
Oh, so good.
With an airbrush.
Right.
So if you look at the difference between these two, it's not, you can't tell.
No.
So if you don't have an airbrush, you're fine to make trees. Totally fine. Trees are great. Mm-hmm. If you have an airbrush, definitely make trees because it's a great way to get better at airbrushing.
Yeah, and a lot of this, I think, the importance is going to come. It comes with the wash, right?
Comes with the wash. Like I said, we're about to do 2 sloppy steps on these trees, on these leaves, and these sloppy steps are going to make this. Like I said, they're Instagram filters.
Yeah, exactly. And it does a lot of things. It helps kind of soften them out. It helps blend things. If you're doing airbrush work, a lot of that's the kind of splitter splatter of the airbrush. Even if it's not much, a wash helps get rid of that. And it's the same thing with physical paints, where you can see there might be some more jarring ends to one paint color to another, and the wash actually does help blend those together. I don't know the science, I just know that it's magic and that's how it works from painting.
I love magic.
I love magic.
I don't like science as much.
It's literally magic. So what is this? Oh, this paint looks deliciously disgusting.
It is. So this is Antonian Camo Shade.
Cool.
This is a drab, kind of, I guess, neutral, warmish green.
Huh, yeah.
Later, for the forest tree, we're going to use Beal Tan Green, which is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
It's a little more of a turquoise.
Totally.
These are 2 of my favorite tint colors. I often tint an Antonian Camo Shade, again, kind of a medium, slightly warm green, or the blue-green of Beal Tan.
Yeah, I love it.
And there's no technique, once again, to this. We're just slathering it on. You really can't get it wrong, guys. You just cover it up. If it's a little damp, you'll see what happens here. Adrian, if we can switch to overhead, I'll show everybody what happens. If you've ever wondered what happens when you have the paint a little wet and you still wash it, it's going to be fine. It's going to give it a little bit of a look at the end. We might need to add more.
Yeah, a little more wash.
Here.
Yeah, that actually looks amazing.
Yeah, it actually is going to be, again, it's trained. It's very forgiving.
Yeah.
Don't do this on like your wave serpent.
Oh God.
You'll be so angry with me.
You're like, I don't need to wait for it to dry. It's fine. I would. You should use this wash on that wave serpent. That'd be a good look.
Just like.
That's my swamp serpent.
Yeah.
It is a wave, but it's not from the ocean.
There's a wave all right going on here.
That's my bayou serpent right there.
Yeah. So we're getting in there. We're getting in here.
This looks great. I love this.
Yeah. We're going to go through a lot of wash. By the way, I will say, you do go through a lot of wash when you do terrain.
Yo.
Honestly, like, whenever I used to go pre-COVID, went to Rest in Peace Game Castle Mountain View, where our play group played.
Yeah.
We always like to buy something when we're there.
Right.
And if I had like literally nothing specifically to buy, I would buy non-oil if it was in stock.
Right.
If it wasn't in stock, I'd buy one of these two or some wash that I was going to tint terrain with because, boy, you go through a lot. And I know people always tell me, people say, don't get Citadel or make your own. I have. What I like about the Citadel ones are, honestly, I get really good results. I've used other brands, but the big reason I like the Citadel ones is for colors like Beal Tan Green. They just make colors that are. They figure out a color they know people want to use,
right,
and they just do something slightly weird to it.
I gotta say, like you guys know I love Vallejo and stuff like that, but there's two things that I keep coming back to Citadel for, and one it's Russian Beer Gold, just because that color specifically, but it's actually
it's like that light cool gold.
Yeah,
it's like not warm at all.
Yeah, Mel's always like, that's not gold, and I'm like, I know it, I don't care.
It's barely gold.
It's like
so
more of a
cool,
bronze, right? So it's that, and it's all their washes. Their washes are the things that I swear by. I'll use other brands for all the other stuff, but the washes, they're just so powerful. I know they are a bit pricey, but they work. They work.
Yeah.
What can you say? You did a thing, James. You did it right.
Yeah. So. I love their colors. For me, it's my Tau or Cerebite green, I think it's called.
Oh yeah.
And that color, it's just like. It's kind of green, it's kind of blue. Now, if you guys see what I'm doing here, I am kind of going in, and the one where I said, it'll look good, we'll leave it wet, I'll be honest with you, I didn't like it.
Yeah,
so
that's totally fair.
I think the reason I didn't like it is because our Rhino hairbrush wasn't fine enough. So what I'm doing now is I am going in here, and right around this branch, I am kind of just making sure that we get a little extra wash in there. That was the only one. The rest of them came out okay.
Yeah.
So like I said, terrain's forgiving, but you do want to.
There are limits.
There are limits, and you just want to check your work.
But it's forgiving, and then it's also easy to fix. Like you just went back in there, covered it up a bit. I'm really liking how this is turning out.
Yeah.
Like that. Look at that. It was.
Yeah, that one's great. That one's great.
Blend there.
Yeah.
I'm loving it.
Loving it. Now we have one more step on our leaves. And that step is to dry brush them, but we cannot do that now because they're soaking wet. So we gotta let this dry, and in that time, we're probably gonna finish our other drink.
Absolutely. So let's go back to the tree and let's take another question. Thank you, Mike H5. One of my housemates, who's an artist, got me a paint handle for Christmas. It has been a godsend. My Marines are Eshin Gray. I like dark colors. I find they're faster and often finger stamina is my enemy. Yeah, that's true. Like we were just talking about being able to hold things and then grip and different. I was going to say stances, but finger stances.
Yeah.
It is exhausting, absolutely. I haven't tried this paint handle. I'm more old school. I'll use literally a cork bottle, a cork from a wine bottle and attach them. Have you tried any of these new paint handles yet?
I haven't.
I've heard really good things.
Yeah.
I just haven't tried it.
I've never felt the need for a paint handle.
Don't know why.
Yeah. So eventually on stream here, we'll do, I'll show you my process for maybe my Tau or my new Simhan Eldar. And for me, the reason to use a paint, why do you use a paint handle? Maybe I don't know why people use paint handles.
So for me, I know that there's something to do with the angles, but for me personally, I handle my miniatures a lot over the course of painting them. And so there's parts that are drying, there's parts that I can accidentally wipe off, there's edges that I'm hitting again and again and again and again before I put the varnish on in the end. So there's that, and for me personally, that's the main reason. It's just so I don't touch the dang thing.
Okay.
Because often I'll do them separate from the base, but
I always do separate.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, that's why I would use it.
Yeah, so 100% agree.
Yeah.
And what I do to remedy that is just the order I go through, and I edge highlight is the very last thing I do.
There you go.
I actually put decals on before I even recess wash.
Whoa!
Because decals don't come off.
Yeah.
My decals don't come off. So
that's on that too.
Yeah, so I layer paint, I airbrush paint, then I pick out and I don't pick out areas. I airbrush paint, recess wash. Right. Recess wash isn't coming off.
Yeah.
Then I decal. Then I pick out areas with another color. And then I edge highlight.
Interesting. So that avoids a lot of those pitfalls. Sometimes
I will even coat the miniature with, we actually have a bottle back here of spray.
Yeah, Tester's Gold Coat.
before I edge highlight,
Yeah.
and then I'll touch it up a little bit again after. Yeah.
And that's actually really smart, and that also acts as kind of like a save game, right?
Yeah.
You've like
Yes,
protected it.
that's a perfect word.
And you
That's
can
a
like
perfect
go
phrase.
back on it, and that also avoids that. So
Save game, I love it.
it's a save game, absolutely. So what's next?
What's next is our second color on our blue-green mangrove alien tree.
Mangrove.
And we are going to use Mechanicus Standard Gray. We're going to dry brush here.
I love this gray, actually. I'm a big fan of it.
So gray's a great color for a number of reasons.
Tell me why.
First, what I love about gray is that no other color comes in so many variations of cool, warm, and neutral.
Yeah.
So you have to really be careful when you work with a gray. This gray is, I would say, neutral.
Yeah.
We want neutral or cool grays for our tree, which is very blue.
Right.
And will be blues and greens. This planet's going to be blues and greens.
Wet, swampy.
Sweat, swampy, yeah. We want something neutral at least. Don't use a warm gray.
Right.
It'll look funky actually. If you added a warm gray to this and then the other colors we're going to add, it'll look weird. So keep an eye on your grays. I love having a lot of different grays on hand. I always do. And I go through them a lot on terrain, frankly.
That's something I'm always finding myself in need of more grays. Because I never have like the specific one that I need, because it impacts it so much. Like having the right gray to fit to kind of fit with it. It's funny going to a game store and check out the gray section. My God, there's like as many types of gray for like a paint line as there are all the other colors combined. It's pretty amazing.
That's not incorrect. It's not even an exaggeration.
No.
Especially again, German uniform. 18 War of Boer War of 1890. I'm slaughtering history right here. I apologize. I love history, but I don't know. I don't really know my German uniform colors.
Wow, Zach,
Yeah.
I'm offended.
Throughout the eras.
Now, am I applying this over the whole model?
Whole thing.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Nice dry brush.
We're not really being area specific yet, like we
Right.
were with Squig Orange.
Yeah.
I just grabbed the wrong one.
Ah, here you go.
I think it'll
Have
be
some squig orange.
Squig.
Surprise!
You know what? I'm going back to Squig Orange.
Yeah.
Squig Orange, actually, on top of gray like this, these grays, could probably look really cool.
Oh, that would be wacky, yeah.
It would probably give you a bit of an ash.
It's funny. So I've never used this the squig orange is what it's called, but it's very similar to one of my favorite colors that I use from Vallejo, which is mud brown, and it's a very red, orangey brown, and I use it everywhere.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense though because trees aren't brown.
Well,
So
I've been educated
Vallejo,
today.
come on.
Come on, Vallejo. Jeez.
Yeah, well, we've learned a lot today about trees, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And brown.
No, we didn't talk about it.
Oh, here, let me get you a shoulder shot.
Yeah.
So you guys can see. This is, again, kind of bringing in those highlights, really accentuating it. So we're getting away from that black base layer. Looks amazing.
Yeah, nice and easy. Again, we're the blue still kind of showing up underneath there. Could we have just used a kind of cool bluish gray here? Yes, but again, it's the additional layers
Right.
where like one color is still living underneath the other color. We
Yeah.
call that apparently an undertone. I'm learning a lot too. Adrian calls that an undertone. That sounds official.
You call it like a geological
I said that color still lives there. His memory, her memory, still there. So this is where we should be at.
I'm liking it.
How's yours looking? This is looking pretty good.
I think it's looking pretty good.
Yeah.
Should we do some turntable shots?
Yeah, let's see, put it
Glam
up.
it up. I'm feeling better about
Your
this
show,
one.
your show.
Look
Put
at
it on
that.
the glam cam. The Adrian show. Here we go. There
That's
it is.
right. That's my work. Worked 3 years on this, and paid a lot of money for grad school, and here it is.
Me too.
And we both went to like artsy grad school
Yeah,
too, and look
yeah.
at us.
Brett on the
Look
other
at
hand. Brett's like, I'll go to grad school and go to a real job right out of school. What a concept.
What a loser. Should we take a look at your tree?
Sure.
I'll put it up for you.
Now, why are we painting trees kind of dark?
Yeah, tell us.
So this is the Zach School of Terrains versus Models.
Ah, cool.
And I like to think of a scale of 1 to 10. And for me, what I like to say is that I like my in general, I like brighter stuff. I like people, when I'm at the game store, I love when people who don't play 40K show up and are like, holy wow, that looks amazing.
Right, right.
If you have a bunch of like kind of brown drab guardsmen fighting a bunch of very dark green orcs, I don't really see that happening so much. I don't see those moms and those little kids coming over and going like, and the kid's like, I want that right now, and the mom's like, no, it's so good. I love that. So for me, I kind of like the scale to 1 to 10, right? I usually put my models anywhere between 8, 9, and 10.
Sure. As far as like effort and time.
No, how bright they are.
Oh, brightness. Yeah.
Purely brightness here, Adrian. And I like my train to be around like 5, 6.
Yeah.
So maybe even a little lower. I like the models to stand out against the terrain.
You're establishing that contrast.
Exactly. It's another great artwork from Adrian, the
Grad
guy
school,
who went to
baby.
grad school. Yeah. We've learned, what was it, undertone?
Undertone.
And now
Contrast.
Contrast?
That's right. Also paint. From
You know,
Games Workshop.
I know these words. This is what this difference between somebody who's studied and is good at something,
Right.
like yourself. Like I know the word, but I just don't think to use it.
Yeah, that's funny.
Okay, next. We are moving on to our next gray here.
Let's do it.
And it's going to be, let me check here. Write everything down, by the way, guys.
Yeah.
Write your process down. I've got it written down
Oh
right
my
here.
gosh. I made the mistake so many times where like I'll write it down. I'm like, I know what it is. And I come back 6 months later. I'm like, I got a new unit. What was I doing again? I forgot.
No. I always write on paper while I'm working. Sometimes on like the paper, like we have paper set up here.
This is cool. I like it a lot.
And then other times I will, after I'm done there, I'll just go and put it like in a computer.
Right. Yeah, makes sense. While you're getting that on your paintbrush, let's take a question. Thank you, Melody Wallace. Hobby time. I'm working on Sister Superior Amalia Novena tonight, along with the stream. What do you do when you want to take a model to the next level? Ooh, that's a good question. A lot of like, I in particular with partially the stream, but I'll be honest, I'm more guilty of it when I'm doing like the tournament circuit. I'm like, I need to get these models ready, and they'll be like, cool, I need to get it just like tournament ready or tournament standard, something like I'm happy with, I'm not embarrassed by. But then like there's certain models that you really want to like take it to the next level essentially. What do you do? I guess the question is how? Like what would you want to do? I think you look at what are interesting like textures and materials that you can do on it. Honestly, you look up a video, and this is an opportunity to learn a new technique, right? And you don't want to spend a ton of time on like Joe Schmo, like not even sergeant of a squad.
I want to come back to that point.
The Joe Schmo?
No, the time. Let's talk about the time. Yeah.
It's a good opportunity to like learn that new technique. Be like, cool. So Superior Amalia Novena, I think she's the like special edition sister, I believe. So like I would say, okay, how can I do really nice like the emblems here or the shoulder pads, and go find a tutorial for that and do that specifically. Like this is the thing I'm going to improve here. Hopefully that helps answer the question. There's a few ways that I could read it, but I think to me,
yeah, I agree 100% on like where. Again, it's kind of like we told Mike earlier. We said, Mike, pick a technique and improve it. Melody, I would say, pick a technique, like Adrian's saying, and say, this is what I'm going to do on this character.
Right.
By the way, yeah, just a dry brush.
Oh,
You're
sorry.
good.
Yeah. And this color.
And kind of anywhere on this one.
This is Dawnstone.
Yeah, this is Dawnstone or light gray, and we can go anywhere. We don't really need to do like the squig orange treatment where we're careful with it. So yeah, kind of anywhere.
Don't worry, I was not careful, so we're good.
But Melody, pick somewhere on the model you want to improve.
Yep.
Lots of times special characters will have a cape. The first time I did a cape was a Tau Fire Warrior. I don't know why he has a cape. Like, nobody else in the Tau Army wears a cape. Yeah, but he's got a cape, so I'm like, I'm going to try to paint a cape, right? But what Adrian said about time is really the thing. If you had, you have a single infantry model, how long will you paint that model until you realize every time you go and sit down on that model, it's been 3 nights. You've been working on that model for 3 weekend nights, 2 hours a night. At one point, you're going to hit this thing diminishing returns, right? And you're going to say, okay, here we go. Here's the little book she's holding. She's an Imperial model. Somewhere there's a book with script on it, right?
Right.
So I don't paint Imperial models, guys. I know there's...
I think you nailed it. That's exactly it.
Right? What are you going to do to that book, right? And like, now let me go into the crease of the book and put a little bit of wash to kind of show its shading here. Next night, I could do that one more time, a little thinner. It's like, you'll get diminishing returns.
Yeah.
Here's what you have to do to take a model to the next level, in my opinion. You have to accept those diminishing returns.
Yeah.
I don't accept diminishing returns when I'm painting 20 Asuryani Guardians.
Yeah.
I accept those diminishing returns when I'm painting a Farseer.
Yep.
Or I accept those diminishing returns on anything. I did a dreaded Amble last year, and he was the only model. Like, I based him to look like my Tau.
Right.
But he's the only dreaded Amble I have.
Yeah,
So when you
you're
paint
doing right.
a dreaded Amble, and it is dreaded, by the way. You guys are like, Brett's over here, by the way, laughing at me calling it dreaded.
You got to give him the title, right?
It's dreaded.
Kazan, Master Blades.
Yeah, exactly. So, Melody, with that Amble, I said, like, I'm going to accept diminishing returns, and then I'm going to keep accepting them until I'm like, oh my God, I'm done.
Yeah.
I almost am like, nothing's doing anything anymore. And especially if you get to a point where you put something on and you're like, oh, it's worse now. then you are done. You are done as a person. It's a reality that somebody else, you're done painting as a person. You're not just done as a person.
Done for.
You're done. It's a reality that you got better, but then you hit a wall, and your next model you'll get better.
It's hard. I really struggle with that. Like, coming back to a model again and again, those diminishing returns. But that is if you really want to take it to the next level. That's what you do. That's what Golden Demon painters will spend, like, how many hundreds of hours on a single model. And like, I can't even conceptualize to me what I would do with that time. Right?
Yeah.
It's like so beyond. But that's what it is. You're coming back and you're doing better and you're doing more and you're like refining it. And you have to decide when it's worth it, when it's not. Yeah,
and the same can be the case with terrain. Local guy, a lot of people in the community know Seth. Seth is an amazing painter.
Yeah.
I was just telling my wife the other day, I was like, I'm at Game Castle, and Seth just walks over and gives me a point of advice.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm a pretty good painter, I think. I'm okay.
Yeah.
You're a pretty good painter. Okay.
Right.
Lots of times when people come over and start giving you painting advice, I'm kind of okay.
Yeah,
I don't want to be a jerk, but I'm like, I know that.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be a jerk, right?
No, naturally.
Seth just comes over and starts telling you something, and you're like, yeah, no, that's awesome. Especially if he sees what you're buying, he's like, oh, here's what you do with that.
Oh my gosh.
Seth is amazing at this stuff, but Seth, I'm gonna call Seth out here in a positive way. Seth really doesn't play games a lot, so Seth has no huge army.
Right.
But Seth, a lot of times these awesome painters, they will sink so long into one miniature.
Well, he especially does like dioramas. And
he does these dioramas.
That one
crazy.
thing is like so perfect.
Yeah.
And again, in the context of this is like the whole world.
Yeah.
Your world while you're working on it, that works. And it might not work for 2,000 points of orcs or sisters even.
I love painting, but at the end of the day, I want to paint up a bunch of aliens and shoot some humans, right? I want to shoot some evil space giant men, right? So I need to field an army. So Melody, I don't know. You kind of gotta say, all right, calling it, yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So we got some Dawnstone. This is our third type of gray on this, and it's really showing.
It's showing, yeah.
I like that contrast.
So right now, what we have is a very neutral tree.
Yep.
If we want it to have kind of like an ashen world, I'll put this on Glamcam. If we want it to have sort of like an ashen world, volcanic world, maybe where the tree has been burnt up.
Yes.
Or maybe, eclipse, yeah. Maybe if it was just a weird kind of like volcanic world, this could be done.
Theoretically speaking.
This could be done. It's a little cool.
I like it.
Cool
I really
colors.
like it.
And it's got that gray. Now, what we're gonna do is we are now gonna tint this. And this is the first of many tints we'll be doing. Today we're just doing one. But in general, we will tint all the time.
it's a process that we will come back to. That is very, very important, and it's just going to be a bit different every single time.
Yeah. Now I put our wet palette away.
Sure. I dare you.
Let's get rid of this yuckiness. And here.
Very nice.
Saying about wet palette, guys, get a wet palette.
Wet palettes are great.
Super recommend them.
Touch it. It's so nice to touch.
Yeah. I used one from Redgrass Games. Brett and I stumbled upon this one a few months ago. We love it.
Redgrass Games?
Redgrass.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah, never heard of it. That's cool. You're over there. Yeah, there you are. Nope.
Nope. No, wrong way.
There it is.
Okay.
There you go, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can find tons of these. There's also tutorials on making your own. I haven't tried it. It's one of those hobby things I like has been on my list for forever to give a go. But I'm happy to be here today using yours.
Yeah, I love it. I don't layer paint without one.
Right.
So just getting a little wet. We're
enough.
using a wash, so not super necessary.
Sure.
Okay, Tan Green.
Yes.
This is our, if you're not using Citadel, this is our bluish green, mostly green, little blue.
Yeah.
Cool green. Green is light gray in that it can be kind of warm. Kind of like, we don't have warm blues, right guys? We call that purple.
That would be weird. Yeah. I would call that purple.
We don't really have cool reds. We call that purple, right? But
Whoa! You were literally blowing my mind.
the student has become the master when it comes to art terms. So for green and gray though, we get that kind of spread, which is why I love working with green and gray so much.
Right.
So little Tan on here. This is our last step on this tree. Now we are just gonna slather this thing up. So I call this tinting because this is the last thing we're doing. This is our Instagram filter.
Yeah, exactly.
I like to do this with an airbrush. You don't have to. Am I doing absolutely everywhere, all over the tree? I kind of forget. Yes, I am.
Check out the example.
Totally covering this tree. It is truly an Instagram filter. I forget which one it is. Nashville, maybe? No, I'm just kidding. Nashville's yellow. Come on.
Please, obviously.
I don't remember which one's green. Chat, help me out. Instagram filters. Green.
Yeah, come on, chat. Speaking of chat, seeing awesome things that you guys are working on, definitely let us know. I see some magnets, some rubrics. Wait, this is all. So definitely let us know in chat what you're working on currently at home.
Oh, I did just buy a Start Collecting Thousand Sunspots.
Oh, it's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've been talking about working on those guys.
Yeah, I've been holding off on like playing more than one army for so long. And then I started Craft World Eldar.
Yup.
And I painted them up, and I loved it. And I was like, ooh, let's go again.
You're a Titan now, man. You have the addiction.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that like even like in our play group, there's so many times where people want to play Imperial and Chaos.
Yeah.
I'm like, let me see how we can shoehorn Tau into this. Or let me see how we can shoehorn Craft World. I mean, and they're like the good guys that are
Right.
most likely good guys. Good, I think they're the good guys.
Right.
Compared to the Imperium, they're the most likely to work with them. But I don't know, like it's kind of weird. So now I can be like Chaos and be like, all right, I have a real Chaos
Zach has
army.
the Chaos armor. That's wild. But if you were to do 1,000 Suns, like that makes sense. I get that.
yeah, totally.
That's that's a Zach.
Again, I
thing
love
right
good
there.
guys, and they are the quintessential good guys
Yeah.
of the universe.
You
They're
also
the
love Synthwave, so
I love Synthwave.
Yeah.
All my armies are Synthwave
Yeah.
inspired, and they are a
already
Synthwave
are,
army. Yeah. Okay, this guy's done. He's drying.
I'm loving it.
So we're in a little bit of a pickle here
Oh yeah?
because we've got yours.
My leaves are drying much
Your leaves
faster.
are dry,
You want
yeah.
to take some of mine? You can do that?
Yeah, let's do it. So actually, you know what, Adrian? I have dry ones here. I'll just
a
hold
couple.
off on these. Yeah.
Yeah, you just have some of the ones that you went back with and have reapplied
These
the
guys
wash.
are. It's the big ones.
The big ones.
We need like a heat lamp. We need like back here, like restaurant,
Yes.
like
Oh, man.
like the red heat lamps, where you set the meal up
Yeah.
on.
I think we should also have like the previous group that you're really just waiting to leave so you can get next to the heat lamp. They can also be there like until it's time, and we're like, hey, I think they're gone. Like, let's go.
We're gonna go to
see
grab them. They're gonna be melted.
Yeah.
Oh wait.
Dude, so I ruined some models using my home heater. This was the night before going to Broadside Bash, actually. I had my Shining Spears and my Warlock, and I was
Because the resin.
no, these were just like regular models.
Okay.
It wasn't like any like it was so strange. I did the basing, so I wanted the glue on the bases to dry quick, so I put them in front of just my regular heater for my house, which I've done a million times before, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
And they just warped and twisted. And my Farseer, my Warlock, was like totally like wacky. And so I showed up and people were like, oh, what's that? I'm like, yeah, it's like doing Quicken. You know, he's going through time and yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
It was the weirdest thing. I'd never seen it before, I've never seen it since.
And that's a rough army to warp into a sloppy mess. Some armies will handle that.
If
Death
it was-
Guard,
yeah.
something
Orcs,
like that.
would be fine. But it's like my beautiful like Eldar Death Bikes are all like twisted and like drooping. It's like, oh man.
Imagine Orlando Bloom just melting Orlando Bloom down until like, geez.
That's a crime.
That's a crime. Okay, so last step for the back to the earthbound trees, our deserty drab trees.
So the leaves.
Last step, another sloppy step. What do I call sloppy step? Now,
I like it.
I do have a little bit of better. Where's the other one? Oh, it's wet. Okay, there's for you.
Thank you.
I would personally dry brush with these. I don't think I would like to dry brush with the rhino hair brushes from Home Depot. They're a little too coarse.
Yep.
I think they'll make a lot of streaky mess. I did do it earlier today, and it was okay, but I had to kind of think about it, which I don't want to have to do.
You need a bit more. Yeah, Noah likes to think. You need a little bit more control here, right?
I want a little bit more control. Now, again, it's dry brush. I'm just putting some, and it's Ogren Camo, it's called.
Oh, that's cool.
And I'm just putting some Ogren Camo, getting it off here on the
like
paper.
A snotty yellow.
Yeah, this is actually the color of my towel were like 10 years ago. Before.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then I dry brush. Just your classic dry brushing. Terrain's gonna pick it up nice. No real stress here, no techniques.
I'm digging it.
I mean, no, that's not true. There is a technique. The
No real
technique
technique. There's nothing for you to learn here.
There's no real like super hardcore skill. Like, oh man, I'm so good at. If someone tells you they're extra good at dry brushing,
let me tell you.
I
got a bridge to sell you.
that person, that's an interesting person to me right away, and I'm gonna stay positive. But I'd be like,
I wonder what I can learn from you. Yeah. That's all it is.
I would just be like, good at dry brushing.
I'm gonna walk the other direction.
Yeah. Oh man, I love dry brushing. I'm so good at it.
It's so good. You know, it's been so long since I've dry brushed. I just don't tend to do it a lot on my models, but for terrain, it's so perfect.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not super big into dry brushing on my models.
It's tough to make work and not look. I don't want to say sloppy, but it's very like dirty, I guess.
Well,
it looks scratchy, right?
It looks scratchy. I call this a sloppy step, right?
Sloppy step.
Yeah, and I learned that early on. Like 2 things you don't do to finish off for me, like a towel or an Eldar or a Space Marine.
Yeah.
You don't end with a wash. I don't.
I've learned that the hard way.
And I don't end with a dry brush because these are sloppy steps. They are not. I'm not in control.
Yeah.
You know when you're just like I'm not in control of the situation. That's these steps. I'm firmly. You guys saw us. We just slathered a tree with rhino hair brushes from Home Depot.
We don't know what's going on. We can't stop that.
Just whatever happens, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So like, that's another point of advice. I feel like I always think about. I'm like, is the step I'm about to do like both Melody and Mike talking about how to level up their painting? Is the step you're about to do? Are you in control? Because if you're not in control, you might not be leveling up your painting. You might be leveling down your painting, right?
Are you in control?
Are you in control? Ask that. Okay.
Good life lessons here.
In general, it's a good life lesson for Trojan trees. Okay.
I like
this guy, my guy's done. Your guy's gonna be done too. Your guy's gonna be more done because I'm still waiting for a couple to dry here.
You fool.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look.
I went a little overboard.
I'm so excited.
Let's suit it up, Adrian, and let's put in the glam cam.
Yeah, for sure.
And we're gonna see a totally done tree here.
This is expertly applied. Where do I want to put the leaves? Give me like 10 minutes. I gotta figure out.
The leaves are so fun to place.
Always be considering your leaf placement.
Always be considering your leaf placement.
Yeah.
And magnetizing, very easy, guys. Oh, point of advice, probably don't have to tell you, annoying that I even have to say it. When you magnetize a whole forest, magnetize, don't magnetize per tree, right? You want the polarity, so like when you get this back from your friends and your friends are like, oh, I couldn't have been, all the leaves are everywhere somehow. You're like, that's okay, any leaf goes on any tree, right? Like we want that.
Yeah, I hope this works.
It works. Trust me. Oh, it works. Because I do it, and if they're wrong, I break them off and start over. Yeah.
It's funny. Works. I was watching.
Oh wait. Yeah, we're good.
Whoa! Let me put this on the glam cam. Oh, beautiful. Oh.
Yeah, and that's it.
Perfection.
Look at that. We have a slightly brown-looking tree, guys. We said trees aren't brown. Guess what? I'm kind of lying. They are a little brown. But we don't paint them brown.
Right, exactly.
If you paint a tree brown, it's going to look like you
are a cartoon character.
Yeah. I was trying to think how to say this. I was going to say it looks like when you're a kid and you get, like we have Crayola markers all over the table here right now, and you're drawing the house and your family.
Yeah.
and
Yes.
you draw the tree, use brown to draw the trunk.
Yeah,
We all do.
exactly. And it's also just a stick for a trunk, right? That's the other thing.
It's a stick, but I'm
Yeah.
telling you guys right now, if you see a kid do that, you tell them it's wrong.
Be like, hey, you know trees aren't brown.
Trees, trunks, listen,
Did you know how many trees there are in the world?
go look at a trunk, kid. They're gray, they're green, they're not brown.
The world is not made of shades of brown, kid.
Jeez, these kids. Okay,
Kids
so
these days.
uh,
I like it.
that's great. We're done. We're done our Earthbound Canyon trees. Love it. So what do we have left to do? Not much, but it gets kind of goofy and fun here because what we're gonna do now.
I can't wait.
So these are still drying a little bit. Yours again looks better.
Yeah.
It's just drier on this
I
side.
think it's
of
just
the
a
room.
more dried, more arid.
Am I just a damp? Am I like
place.
a damper person?
You're just like, yeah, it's very swampy over there.
Yeah, it is a little swampy. Okay, so what are we going to do? What we are now going to do is kind of weird. We are going to get creative with weird tufts of grass. So
cool.
this brand, let's do over the shoulder here. Yeah, this brand, Gamer Grass, Alien Blue, 6mm size here. I love this. I saw it at my local gaming store, Game Castle, and I said, oop, I got to have 2 packs of these.
That's
Here's
so
one we're opening to use. And it's not a way you would normally use little tufts of grass.
No, that's what's great about it.
Yeah, but it kind of works. Now, these are adhesive on their own, but I don't trust that adhesion.
No,
It's not great.
it's really bad.
It's pretty bad. So we are going to put a little super tiny dab of glue. Now, before we even do that, false alarm. Before we even do that, some of these are going to be perfect size for our tops of our trees.
Okay.
Others not so much.
Right.
They're too big. I'm never going to use these on any models of mine on any bases. So I'm being practical here. Adrian, for now on the stream, let's use the ones that make sense mostly.
Yeah, let's do it.
But I'm going to show you guys something really important, which is how to use scissors.
Wow.
And I'm going to show you that sometimes we want to take one that's like a little bigger. And a lot of brands of tufted grass come in different sizes,
Yeah.
as they should.
Even the GW ones. Well,
Yeah,
some of them are like
and-
super long.
Yeah, and I just kind of chop them up a little bit.
Yeah.
And again, we don't have to really overthink this. It's gonna look cool. So here, actually, scissors.
Scissors.
Let's cut, and we'll give half to
Amazing.
Adrian and half to
Man.
me.
You gotta trust me with scissors.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Well, wait. I don't trust you with scissors. Correct. Yes. Okay. Then, really, no mystery here. Again, nice and easy. No, I actually hate assembling, guys. This came out on the stream the other night, so I don't love this part.
You've
but,
been outed.
Yeah, I really don't like it.
I
That's
love
Brett.
assembling.
Brett gave me these 3D printed pieces of Eldar terrain for this board actually that we're working on, and man, I made a mess of the first one. And then he gave me the second one. He gave me the second one, and like you could live in it. It is sturdy. And I'm just, oh my God, I'm bad at it too. Sometimes I would leave mold line. I'm like, I'm done. Like Melody's asking, I was telling her, when do you stop?
Yeah.
I stop assembling. I'm just like, I'm done assembling.
Giant mold line down your face. You're
Yeah,
like,
we'll make it work.
we'll fix it in post.
Yeah, it'll be a creative decision.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's it.
Yeah,
Easy
now,
peasy.
it's a little wet. Well, yours, like I said, drier.
I can
So
give it a try,
just
yeah.
be a little careful.
All right.
There's your glue.
Thank you. So yeah, for mine, I'm just gonna take sizes of tufts that are already preset because I don't need to get all the use out of this immediately.
Yeah.
So I'll take that. Yeah, this is something I actually was wondering the other day because I was applying this to some bases and I'm like, yeah, I have tried to make them work in the past without glue and it never works out.
No.
They just don't have the longevity, you know?
I've used different brands. Oh, by the way, tip on these: tiny amount of glue.
Yeah, a drop or less.
Yeah, glue's weird. Like if you use a tiny amount of glue, it works. Well, first of all, if you use no glue at all, it does not work.
What?
If you use a tiny amount of, if you use a tiny amount of glue, it does work. And then if you use a large amount of glue, it doesn't work again.
Yeah.
So it's a fine balance. Definitely don't use none.
Yeah, because they basically, if you haven't used these before, they have like sticker bottoms, which will stick for like 5 minutes until you actually try to use this terrain, and it's just gonna fall off.
Well, here's the thing. Actually, I'm actually using these paper plants on my newest army, my Asoyarni.
Paper planes?
Saimhan. Yeah, and it sounds very wrong, like those are going to break.
Yeah.
But when you actually think about the base of a model and what happens to that base of the model, as long as people aren't grabbing the base like they would, I don't know, squeeze a pastry bag, then nothing's going to ever happen. And I've been like dropping them in and out of cases, right?
Right.
These on models, like maybe the sticky adhesive will work. You're saying you haven't had great luck with it, but
So here's the thing. It depends what you're attaching them to. In particular, I'm thinking, because I actually use these on, you guys haven't even seen these on the stream because they're so old. My original AdMech army, I had the gravel, and then this has to go on top of the gravel. And so it's trying to grab onto these individual tiny little points. It's never going to stick.
Yeah.
So I like stabbed them in to kind of try to reach the bottom of the base. Should have just used glue, but I was young and naive back then.
yeah, I guess what I'm saying is this: I like to try to be if I'm using a product, that means I like the product.
Yeah.
So if I'm using it, it means I would say you should use this product.
Right.
It's good. So I'm giving Gamergrass here some credit in saying, if we use this as they intend, just sticking it to the bases of models, it's probably going to work. Terrain gets beat up, especially if you have friends. They will.
Yeah. They will beat up your terrain for sure. I know we do it to yours.
No, you know what? It's actually funny. What beats terrain up is not using terrain. People are always like, "Hey, can I use your terrain in a tournament?" Or someone's like, "Oh no, he doesn't want to let you use your terrain in a tournament because it's going to get beat up while it's used in the tournament." Like,
right.
Yes, we've seen. I don't want to call him out, but I'm going to. Bridger knock my train over all the time this past month. No, of course he doesn't do that. It's actually really you.
I'm teaching him.
I'm teaching him. You guys. But no, that never does anything terrain.
Right.
What really ruins terrain is going in and out of containers. And actually, we don't do that here. We just like carry it over and.
That's been one of the nice things moving to the new studios. We have actual storage space. Is we just have shelves. If you guys have seen, we have a behind-the-scenes video for our members section where it's like literally have like shelves of terrain now. It's beautiful because the bins are like a necessity most of the time. My stuff at home often has to go into a bin. But you're right. That's where the real damage happens. Look at some Susian trees.
We've got some trees that some Death Watch would just shoot these trees. They would be like, that tree is simply wrong.
It's highly suspicious.
I cannot even allow that tree to be a tree.
That's amazing.
So, should we land cam it up, Adrian? Mine's still drying a little bit, yeah.
Glam it up.
Finished alien tree.
All right. Let's take a look at this. Very nice.
Yeah.
I love this contrast between like the really bright blue and this really like ashen kind of color for the trunk. Once again, not brown.
Not brown. Very not brown. This one definitely not brown at all.
Yeah.
Very green. A little bit of blues in there. Any kind of color paradigm would work. I mean, you could start with like a dark red and build up reds.
Right.
I guess you could do
absolutely.
oranges, browns. I wouldn't do brown. So we showed like kind of gray green with a little bit of the squig orange in there.
Right.
And we showed this kind of blue green one. Really excited for you guys to see these trees on their boards.
Oh, it's gonna be awesome.
The drab tree Adrian and I did. That one, the drab tree we did, the first one we did, that looks kind of like a real tree.
Yeah.
This board's actually coming down the pipeline soon. And in fact,
I'm excited.
we will be working on stuff for that board a lot over the next month.
Ooh. So everyone watching is going to be a part of that process, kind of seeing how it develops?
Yeah, pretty much. Some things not, like I may not paint crates on the stream.
Careful.
I know people
it's curated, right? You want to see kind of where are the skills that are useful, are relevant, and what kind of techniques do you want to share in particular, right?
Yeah. So we'll probably do a little bit of pink foam work soon here coming up. But everything will be leading up to the board coming out, being on the stream.
Yeah.
The other board, the alien tree board, that one's going to be a little bit longer.
Farther out?
Yeah. Oh, you know what, Adrian?
What's that?
We have one more step.
Oh!
Especially for you, because mine's still a little damp.
Oh, right.
Water board. So the last thing we're going to do is we're going to take a little gloss medium. Where am I going to put this gloss medium? We'll put it here on the wet palette.
Cool.
I guess that'll work.
Sure, sounds good. You want to, like, what is a gloss medium? That's a strange combination of words there.
Yeah, so this is a liquid.
Oh no, is it dried?
Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. This is like a goo.
Yeah.
And I use it.
So you guys can see anything there. It's basically like a tintless paint, right? It's like the paint stuff without any kind of coloration in it.
That's right. We can use the one we just used to dry brush.
Sure.
And we're going to pick it up, and we're going to go only a little bit up the trees, a little bit up the trunks here.
Right.
And what we're doing is, since this is on a mangrove forest, the idea here is that this will turn shiny permanently, like you can see on this one right here.
Yeah.
And it'll look just kind of like damp wetness.
Yeah, exactly.
Because literally, like I said, this board, the armies will be fighting in like shallow water.
Oh, it's gonna be so cool.
Yeah, so that's what we're accomplishing here. Now, one thing I do want to address I actually haven't talked about yet.
Sure.
You're going to notice that at the bottom of these trees, some of you guys might see there's actually rocks. And you're going to think, oh, Zach didn't go in and paint those rocks gray or whatever color.
Purple.
I didn't.
Yeah.
There's a few reasons for that. One, you know my whole trees aren't brown thing.
Yeah.
Rocks, really not gray.
No, madness.
You know, the thing is, I am putting the gloss, by the way, on the rocks.
Oh, sorry, I was just watching.
No, that's okay. You guys can't see. I'm like staring at it. And you're like, hey, you gonna do this or what?
Yeah. I just get so caught in the moment and watching you work.
Yeah, they're not really. You know, rocks aren't really gray, but more so like I don't know. Like again, diminishing returns. Like, do I need to sit here and paint these rocks a slightly different color? I don't know. I could, but the rocks are being subjected to the same environment the tree is being subjected to.
Right.
Does that mean that the rocks will look the same? No, of course not. No. Will they look similar? I think so.
Yeah.
I think we see that in nature. I think if we look at trees and especially again in a wet area. Now, the dry tree also had the rocks because they're the same model. And it is true maybe there that I could have gone in and picked out the rocks a little bit better, and I still could. I don't think I would actually ever layer paint anything on the rocks, but maybe taking like a dark gray and trying to squeeze in there and do a little dry brushing, I might do that.
Just a little bit.
But I'll tell you right now, I'm not going to do that.
I think it's cool that we get to see, like we've seen your work before, right? This is our first hobby stream, but we've seen your terrain on the table, and as I said, we subjected to very, very close-ups at high resolution. And personally, you know, this is up to your own opinion, but I think it looks amazing. And it's cool to be like, okay, we've seen that. Now you know how it works. You can go back and look at those clips and see what they look like, because I'm like learning things that like I didn't even notice, right? The things that you chose to do or not do, because it just looks good, and it's interesting as opposed to being like, here's the thing, okay, now you'll see it. Like you guys have already seen these techniques on boards in our games. So I think it's cool.
Yeah, and like we were talking about earlier, our boy in the area, Seth. If I was Seth and I was doing this for like a oh my God, what's the word? I forget. These dioramas. He does.
Diorama, yeah.
Seth does these
Contrast,
dioramas. If I was doing the diorama, then I'd paint the rocks, you know? But it's not really necessary.
Yeah.
If you want to paint the rocks, please paint the rocks. You'll be somebody that is going further than I am.
Going to the next level, leaving you at the train station.
Exactly, like we talked about. Like, how do I level up my terrain? Maybe paint the rocks, but you also really want to be careful with terrain. You do not want to make terrain too busy.
Yep, that's true actually.
Busy terrain, not good. Lots of people will get these different GW ruins. There's one back here on the shelf. You guys can see when we paint that up. We're not going to cover that thing with like, here's a little place that should be gold. Here's a little. If you look at any of the GW like rule books, I was talking to you about going through. I get a lot of my inspiration from there.
Right.
If you're looking at like their ruins and their trees and stuff, they don't pick out a lot of details.
No, because you don't want to distract. And again, we talked about contrast of colors, but there's also contrast of like busyness. Like you want your models to pop on the board. Obviously, we have models that are being filmed all the time, and so it's something we're very, very cognizant of. Is like. The terrain is amazing. Yes, it is the third army, but also should supplement and complement the armies that you have on there. And that balance it's important. It's a tough one to know. Like even my runes at home are the old style of runes, which are much less detailed than that. And it's still more detailed than is probably worth painting, right?
There's a lot of detail in those old ones, yeah.
And you actually have those in like our Mossy City, right?
Yep,
So that's a good
some
example
of those
of
old ones.
knowing when to do more and when to not, because it honestly isn't contributing more. It's just busy.
Did we get a final glam cam on the gloss? Let me
almost. I think it's drying a little bit.
Mine a little more dry than yours.
Yeah, until it dries, it looks. You can see that.
You
white.
can see, yeah. I'll put there. You can see a little goopiness there. A little, see that, like kind of like a little white stuff. That's gonna go away.
Less transparent.
Yeah.
That looks awesome.
I hope that goes away. No, I'm just kidding. It'll go away. Wait, guys, don't do that one. If you're playing along at home.
Wait, this is Elmer's glue. Oh
no. But actually, I like this. This I forgot. I packed everything and came over this morning to work on some stuff, and I forgot my high gloss. So Brett brought his.
Yeah, that's
and
fine.
I think it's gonna look the same. I think it's actually gonna look better.
I think it looks amazing.
Yeah.
All right, there we go.
So there it is. When that is on a water board, you're gonna be like, oh yeah,
they're wet.
they're
exactly.
wet. That's wet.
It's a nice application because I've seen that for like monster mouths and like tentacles and stuff like that. But it's cool to use it in this environment. And again, coming back to that concept that Zach is tying this into a specific board, right? You're color matching it, you're telling the story, what are the textures, and that's all very, very important to your process.
Always, yeah. So Adrian, as far as trees go, we did it.
We did it. We made some trees, man.
Yeah,
That's
recapping
awesome.
here a little bit of skills,
Yeah.
a little thought process
Let's
here.
talk about it.
Lots of dry brushing on trees.
Yep.
I like to pick kind of a color, like a few paints, usually 3. Like I said, I like my early one to be some kind of dark color that has a foot and 2 doors.
Yeah.
It's gray, it's green. It's blue, it's green. Gray or green are always part of the equation. Even if I was doing a little bit of purple or something like that on this, for some weird alien board, I'd probably want to see a purple-gray.
Yeah, absolutely.
So always foot and 2 doors for the early color. That's going to immediately help you with this thing. Like I said, you look at a tree trunk, kind of hard to tell what color it is.
Right.
Then I build up from there. And it kind of changes whether I want to add like the squig orange, like this kind of very different contrasting color. But I never end with the contrasting color.
Right.
I always cover it back up. So dry brush a few colors. For leaves, really the same thing. You can end with a sloppy technique, meaning you should be ending actually on a lot of terrain, but especially trees.
Yeah.
With a dry brush on the bark, and then maybe a wash like we did with the alien tree to tint it. Or on the leaves, same thing. We actually did the other way around on the leaves. We built up, we did a wash, let that dry, then we did the dry brush.
Which is cool.
Play around, always do a test piece if you can. We can't always do test pieces, I know. We don't always have the models to do a test piece.
No, it's not always possible.
But see if you can. Otherwise, I like to try stuff on paper. You won't get the bumps, but
that's a good point, actually.
Yeah.
Having like we have this big roll of butcher paper. If you have any kind of even just a paper towel or paper towel next to you, you can try it out, test it out. It's great for obviously getting your paints off your dry brush, but it's also just good to have to test things out, make sure it all looks good before it hits the model or the piece of terrain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it, guys. We did it.
Wow. Well, we learned a ton about trees. I thank you, first of all. This has been really, really cool. We do have some questions, so we're going to go through the questions. I'm also going to take a look at the Discord, make sure we didn't miss anything. So let's go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
And let's dive on in. So thank you, Callum. At work, so can't hobby along. I'm loving the stream. What special weapons do you put on your witches? Shardnet plus Agonizer on Hecatrix is go-to. Do you skip the rest? Also thoughts on shredders on Scourge. Great question, Callum. So, what do you think? So the default loadout, Agonizer and Shardnet. The Shardnet is for sure. The Agonizer, you don't have to, honestly. I've kind of tended towards, I'll take the Agonizer only if I'm taking more Veins Agonizer. This is the relic one that makes it so that your opponent can't fall back if they get hit by it. I'm still playing around with it. I personally like to take the special weapons, but I notice less and less people are. They're kind of kitting them out, like, just the Shardnets, basically. So that's kind of where I'm at with that and actually figuring it out. And I will obviously invest more if it is a Hecatrix Blood Brides unit than a regular unit. Shredders on Scourge. I think Shredders on Scourge could be interesting. You might have heard my thoughts on Scourge right now. They're kind of They're not expensive, but they die super easily and they have expensive weapons. The Shredders aren't the most expensive weapons, so there's still some play.
What's Shredder? What is it?
Shredder is the anti-melee version, so it's like a decent amount of shots at a mid-range of kind of strength, essentially, right? And so they've been on and off being like useful, essentially. So I think there could be play there for sure. Like, I'll say this, I don't dislike it, right?
Yeah.
There's some builds on Scourge I absolutely do dislike.
I feel like it's fun that Drukhari get all these special weapons and they've been cool and useful.
Right, exactly.
You know,
they're
always
all
the case.
great. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, there's not a bad option, to be honest. Like, we're talking about what I would take, what you should take, but really, you can't really mess that one up, right?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Cobra. Great video, gentlemen. Will you post your recipe in advance so we can paint along? Oh, that's an interesting question.
Yeah,
We might have to discuss
we'll have to
that.
look into some of that. Yeah.
Because there's a balance of like, we want to make sure that you guys like following along is great. We also want to make sure that there's a reason to watch the video. Shorthand could just be like, well, I'm just gonna look at the recipe and skip that. So I think we'll probably discuss and figure out. But I'm honestly loving. I'm seeing in chat people working on their projects, and I'm seeing people working on even their own trees at home.
Oh, awesome!
Really, really cool stuff happening in chat. So and again, thank you, Cobra. Thank you, Forrest. Trying to decide which army to dive into to get started in AOS. So many good options. What are y'all's thoughts on Beastclaw Raiders? Ooh.
Are those the like big ogre?
That's the big ogres on like the stone horns and things like that.
I will say, so this is an Adrian question. I've not played AOS, but I will say that you can buy like 3 or 4 of the Start Collecting box for that army and have an army.
That's the whole army.
Yeah. So I looked into it. I thought it looked super cool.
Right.
Haven't gotten there yet.
I love those models. They're just gorgeous. Talk about like a painter's delight. So really, really fun to paint. I'm not as familiar with the new iteration of them, but the only problem with them game-wise in the past has been they're very expensive points-wise. So it's a few models, and those guys in particular are known for chucking out chunks of mortal wounds. And
they have like the vulture that goes and hits things.
Yeah.
I love that role.
It's
I really
really,
want like Kroot to get that.
It's cool, but it's very polarizing, right? Because like, one, they can't play the mission that well because they don't have many bodies, but then 2, they're all also chucking out mortal wounds. So there's a potential for feels bads on both sides, where like you can't actually win games, but you're gonna give your opponent like a real tough time, like a real feels bad time where you're like, here's 12 mortal wounds, and like, the gash is dead.
Isn't that really what ogres are all about, though?
Yeah. I know,
in general.
Exactly.
In
Sorry,
general.
I was gonna answer you actually. So something to keep in mind. Again, I'm not as familiar with the newer iteration of them, but just something to consider. All right, so let's take a look. I'm scrolling down. Thank you again, Thomas. Zach, with a K this time. Run us through your same Han list.
Oh, well,
Please do.
I have, I'll just tell you some stuff I've had that I have. I have a bunch of Wind Riders, I think 15. I have 6 Shining Spears. I have Altark on a bike, who's amazing. I love him.
Oh, he's
on
amazing.
Simon.
Yeah,
Simon.
get that in charge.
Warlocks, everybody on bikes. Warlocks, Farseer. I do have 3 Vipers. I'm excited about that. Not a lot of people see those.
Right?
Yeah.
What a cool kid.
3 Warwalkers.
Also on bikes.
3 Wave Serpents. A bunch of Guardians. Bunch of Dire Avengers in Simon Red.
Yeah.
Dark Reapers, Rangers. Falcon. Falcon, yeah. I love my little Falcon. That's it right now. I think sometimes in the near future, might paint a Hornet. I've got some Hornets and
God,
ready to
what
go.
an amazing kit.
I love the Hornet. So might do that on the stream, kind of show that process.
Absolutely. Well, I'm really excited. We'll have to get them on the stream pretty soon. Because they're like like 2,000 points of them are done, right? Or almost done?
More, yeah, like 2,500
cool.
or so, yeah.
So I was like, I just realized I might have put you on the spot.
No,
Like,
there's a lot done. There's a lot done.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for teaching us about trees. I'm getting a cue. We've got one more slipped in. Thank you, Samuel. Planning to turn Sigvald into a Khorne Demon Prince. What's the best weapon loadout? Any ideas for differentiating from the base model? Yeah. So Sigvald is the fabulous Slaanesh dude, right? The full armor.
Kind of full-grown. People want to use this.
He's
like
very much full-grown, right? Turning into a Khorne Demon Prince. That's really cool. So first things first. Weapon loadout. Mathematically, I'd have to check it. But Talons are generally the way to go. I will say, however, that Khorne does have the awesome relic axe from the main rulebook. I don't know if the ones from Psychic Awakening are that amazing, but honestly, when I would play as Khorne Demon Prince, I'd give him the relic axe from the core Chaos Demons book. And then ways of converting him. I think he needs to be more gross, right? He's pretty fabulous.
So I have a thought. A thought
Yeah.
immediately popped to mind if I was doing Khorne demons with this model. I would not paint the hair that kind of white that we think. I would paint the hair, if you're up for it, Samuel, I'd paint it like fire. I'd kind of try to do like a
that'd be
flame.
sick.
Maybe it could either be going up or down.
Yeah.
But like his hair is fire.
That would be
like fire color,
amazing.
yeah. And then maybe do skin like black, like
Yeah.
charred black, or yeah.
I also imagine like
I'd play with skin and hair a lot.
skin
frankly.
and hair, and imagining like almost like ashen or bloody.
Yeah.
And like maybe even like the eyes just pure glossy black.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Definitely. This is
Right?
coming
It's
together.
cool. I like
This is
it.
good, yeah, I think the armor's obvious.
Yeah.
You're going to do red armor
Naturally.
probably for Khorne, but
Yep.
kind of like ashen black skin. I love the black glossy eyes,
Right.
like fire hair,
Yeah.
flames all over them, just bronze.
Exactly. I think that'd be really sick. As far as converting him, obviously, we're talking about pretty much just using the base model. If the axe is good, if you like the axe, actually, you probably, no matter what, going to have to convert that part, because we talked about axe, we talked about talons, which he has neither.
He has like a sword.
It's a
slender-
cool rapier, essentially.
Right,
So
right.
like very not
a
any
Khorne-
of these things
not
that
a
we're trying to
Khorne
represent,
weapon.
right? I don't know of an appropriate sized axe that would work for that. If you can find the bits, actually, I'm realizing some of the Oruks, these are the like the Iron Jaws from Age of Sigmar, have big axes that are like iron wrought, like black iron, and they're pretty big size, so that could be good. Surely the boss ones, but even the regular ones
Yeah.
could be good. And then claws are definitely tougher, but I would probably honestly turn to like nasty green stuff, kind of like claws
Yeah.
and things like that.
Or poke around like Shapeways.
Oh, yeah.
See what kind of 3D printed stuff you can
Yeah,
find.
that's always a good
Yeah,
option.
yeah.
Swap them out. All right, we've got some more slipping in here. Thank you guys so much for your support. Really appreciate it. It's good to see that people want to see hobby content because
Yeah,
we've been wanting to do it for a long time. Thank you, Donald. What are your thoughts on how to delineate where the dense cover area terrain feature is for the trees? Will you build a textured base to sit on them?
Bummer. So this is a bummer. And Bridget worked so hard for us, but we had a little bit of a mishap with some clips
Yeah.
that we made. And Adrian and I made all these awesome clips.
did.
And I guess we could show it a little bit here. So the old kind of way of doing this was that, Games Workshop, who establishes a lot of these rules, they gave you a base for their Citadel
Right.
wood. The new Citadel woods don't have a base. What they have...
Do you want to get some of these pine trees over
grab,
here? Hey, Brett, there's a, yep.
Yeah. What they do, they have a new kit that kind of has like these rings around it. Yeah, awesome. Thank you,
Off-screen
Brett.
pass off, thank you.
Off-screen, Brett. Okay, so what I've made, and we might show these on the stream, these guys right here. And so what we'll be doing is we'll take these, and you kind of just make like a boundary with it,
Right.
like this.
Because these things have this kind of like semicircle base, which
That's-
is exactly replicating the new style of trees, right? They
Exactly.
don't actually have a base, they just delineate that space.
And so here you go. And so your guy's hiding there. That's where you get the benefit of it. Of course, current 9th edition Warhammer 40,000 rules. You're shooting through here. It doesn't matter. You can be a land raider.
Right.
Wait, I don't know how many wounds a land raider has.
There's
Yes.
16,
Okay.
so they
we
still
got
get the minus
confirmed.
one.
Yeah. You're getting -1, but definitely if you're in it, right, you're getting -1. So what we do, I actually don't like Donald. I don't like the bases.
Yeah.
I've made them myself in the past. There's a board we have that you guys will see again on the stream. I'm doing a few upgrades to it that has bases for the forest. They're okay. My problem with them is that I can never replicate a mat with a base. So I'm doing stuff like flocking
Right.
and yes, I like to match like pink foam to rocks, to mats. But when you actually have that thing laying down on the ground, the implication is that's the same ground as the mat.
It is the ground. It's
is
not
the
like rocks on the ground, which is the paint foam on often.
Right. So you can make it look cool, and I've done that. I've attempted that. Sometimes with grass, never good.
Yeah.
The kind of obsidian blackboard that you see on the stream every now and then.
Yeah.
Those ones I think it came out okay. The old Citadel wood, they do a lot to help you. They put rocks in there.
Yeah.
They give you a lot of texture to work with. But I think Games Workshop themselves, like these guys are great aesthetic designers, and they said, look, everyone's using mats.
Right.
If we just give the trees an outline as part of the model, then we don't need a base.
It's a great way to
and
do it.
again, Donald, like do less work, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like, don't paint a base. I don't like them. I like the mat to be the same. So hopefully you'll see how we do it how we do it on the stream.
Absolutely.
And yeah, no, I'd stay away from a base.
Yeah,
honestly.
no, that's a good take. That's extremely insightful. I learned a lot even there. Thank you again, Cobra. Adrian, please remember the cupcakes for tomorrow. This is a good time to mention tomorrow is our Age of Sigmar game for the month, and I will be playing the new Gravelord, Soulblight Gravelords, aka Vampire Lords. Let's be honest, Vampire Counts, and I'm going to be fighting against Mel, my wife, who is bringing her Edeneth. And it's going to be a lot of fun. We're playing on a cool mix of actually Zach boards with a new mat we have not seen on the channel ever. So it's going to be cool. And apparently we're getting cupcakes.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
The mat, I will say, is a water mat. That years ago, I actually used Bealtan Green. You guys will see it.
Oh.
I used, I think, like 8 bottles of Bealtan Green. Very expensive. Not recommended. And I sprayed my mat down. Yeah, I tinted the whole mat. So
I was joking. Really?
Yeah, yeah.
What?
You'll see. It's the Table War like water mat.
Yeah.
Which is, we see it all the time. People use it for like historicals and stuff. But it's just kind of like greener, darker, a little murkier. And yeah, I sat there with an airbrush and I went shh. And like I went through one bottle. I was like not the whole way down the mat yet. And I was like, I'm gonna need more bottles of Bealtan Green.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. You can tint mats as it turns out.
Wow. I'm gonna go check out that mat right
Kind of
after this.
not recommended.
Yeah.
Be careful. Be careful.
Yeah. I was just imagining you just like poured bottles and you're like brushing over it. It's all crusty afterwards.
I like actually pulled out I use a Badger Patriot and I pulled out the one that everyone uses that comes with, and I put the big one in, the one no one uses. I'm like, all right, and I stood up, I was just like, shh, over that thing, yeah.
That's amazing. Well, there you go. Thank you, Alfarius. Which orc vehicle would you convert to make Ernie's forklift? And what rules would it have? Maybe mortal wounds to nearby friendly units on the charge. That's amazing. Those of you who are not familiar, Ernie is a viewer of the channel, and we've been learning about his escapades, and we're trying to teach him to be a safer worker at his work, and I hope it's working. We're not sure.
Ernie's quickly becoming legendary. Look, to be fair, Alfarius, wounds to nearby friendly units. We cannot confirm Ernie has hurt himself or anyone.
This is true.
This is like, let's give Ernie the benefit of the doubt. No, we've never seen a safety record. We really don't exactly know where he works. I don't think we want to.
Yeah,
I don't.
No.
I actually don't want. So I don't know, like wounds to nearby friendly units on the charge. I don't know if that's fair to Ernie, but I do love it.
I love it. I think it you have to be able to take like risky plays that if they pay off, it's great. But if they don't pay off, it's real bad. It's real bad for earning the fork.
Like maybe it's a 3d6 charge.
Convert?
You can do a 3d6 charge, but then you do mortal wounds.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
You do. Yeah, you take mortal wounds even.
Yeah.
I would take a rocket truck squig buggy. Take the squigs out, but just that it's like a very kind of janky look. I like it.
Almost any orc vehicle. It kind of depends.
Yeah.
I think the question for me would be like, how big of a forklift are we talking? That's it.
Is it a death roller? Is it the red roller?
Right.
It's just got dark.
It's very the size.
Thanks, Alfarius. Thank you, Crypt Weasel Lord. Love your name.
Yes, I do love that name.
You lads look professional in your smocks, and your workspace is wonderful. How do you keep your trees upright during a battle? I always bump them. Oh, Crypt Weasel. Have you watched us play with our forests? I chuck them all over the place. But there actually are some legitimate answers to this.
Yeah, so these ones right here, Crypt Weasel. Just like, I'm at a point in my life where I'm talking to someone named Crypt Weasel. Crypt Weasel. These ones right here, they're not going to knock over. They're low, they're squat. Yeah. I think they were made that way by the guys on Printable Scenery. They're fantastic. I don't think I've ever seen you guys knock one of these over.
Not these ones at all. And the ones that we do knock over are kind of meant for that, right? You have your magnetized ones on the Taiga board.
Yeah.
And they're meant to be like removed. And this is something that I personally, I'll be curious to hear your thoughts on. I feel pretty strongly about with forests, especially we talked about delineating space, right? So even that old, the Citadel Woods that has the actual base and has the 3 slots, those trees don't exist. They just show that this is a forest.
Yeah.
And I'll move them. We're not going to make our lives a pain for it and just move them around. And so that's something that I find very valuable whenever I'm given trees to play with, or I'm using my own trees. I want to be able to move them and not impact the game.
that old Citadel would, as a Tau player, like, oh, I need to deploy 20 crude in
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Like, and like the guy looks over and like all the trees are off to the
Right.
side. Like, hey, they can,
We're playing with terrain. Yeah.
So Crypt Weasel, we have these types on a different board that we haven't had on the stream for a while. It's the one I said I'm kind of doing some revamps to.
Yeah.
They're magnetized and on bases. They fall over all the time, and then you can put them back up. You can set them aside.
Yeah.
We'll talk about how we magnetize those. We'll use Magisculpt, actually. Speaking of Magisculpt, also what's going on here with this one. We kind of made like a Magisculpt root system, and then stuck these trees and glued them into it. Will these ones fall over? Not sure. They haven't been on the stream yet.
I will try.
It'd be hard. You'd have to. Yeah, it'd be tough.
You give them that weight, I think, is really, really important.
Giving them the weight, giving whatever it is, like you can see these ones, a very kind of wide base.
Yeah, exactly.
We do have like little palm trees for the jungle board. Those fall over.
Those do fall over, yeah. I think it's funny because these are the Citadel ones are kind of weighted like this. And that they fall over because they actually have a pretty small base, and then they have this big top.
The older Citadel.
The older ones. And the new ones are better, but the old ones. And this is like very much weighted at the bottom. It's built that way. So I'm not going to knock these over, but I will try. Yeah.
You're welcome, of course. Always to try.
Thank you, the Badaxe 45. Hey guys, local 40K group is struggling with people torn between matched and narrative modes of play. I want to expand the hobby group. Overall, any advice? Ooh, that's a good question. I think. I will say this. To me personally, I played lots of different ways of playing, right? But I will say, to me personally, in the last couple of years, last couple editions, 8th and 9th edition, the divide between competitive play and narrative play, or I'll say even just match playing and narrative, has become so much smaller. Like you can try to make a non-fluffy, a non-lore-based looking list, but it's actually really hard. The game's getting tougher and tougher to build that. You're kind of forced and encouraged to build things in that way. So this is something that's just a fact of life, but I would say like definitely present it to people in this way. But it goes both ways. Have this conversation, like how are we going to be playing this game, encouraging them that this is a good thing, this is a narrative thing. I don't know, what are your thoughts on it?
This is tough. As you know, we have a local gaming group here. You guys are a part of, you're not officially part of, but you will be. We'll fortune that. Following 40K, that Brett is the president of, and we've struggled with this a little bit, but honestly, my experience has been, and we'll keep it brief because I could tell some stories. My experience has been that when you're trying to start that group up, you will have people that just are always going to be like, no, like you brought what's a really insane unit right now? What was
attack bikes?
Attack bike? Yeah, like suddenly now you're bringing 3 multi-model attack bikes. Where were they a year ago? Right? You'll always have a guy that kind of calls you out for that when you're starting the group. What I say is to give a definition. What is the group? In our group, we say we tend to not take net lists unless we check it with the person.
Right.
When we show up at the table, we usually have a mix of like 75% good units and 25% let's have fun. And we play to win.
Yeah.
I mean, we play the rules, but that's the definition of our group. As you define your group, Badaxe, and as more people join and know what your group is, they will be joining an understood environment. Those people right now that you're working with, you guys might part ways a little bit as like, is this a club or is this not a club? But you can still play with them. Yeah. And you got people always talk about having the conversation. Have a conversation. Like make sure we understand what's going to happen here. I think you got to define a narrative group or a match play group or both. Where are you?
Yeah.
Have a little bit of wiggle room and wait for new people to show up.
Yeah. I totally agree. Very well said. Because I know this is something that, as you mentioned, being with Faultline in particular, you've kind of dealt with and struggled with. So your wife in chat confirming that you can talk for days.
Yeah, I mean it's tough. Like you're saying, like you're hanging out with your friends and one wants to play one way and another one wants to play another way, and they're both saying to you like he. I drove down to his house and got tabled in 2 turns. I'm like, you guys are in your 30s. I mean, you got to have that conversation. Like, this cannot be me.
Yeah,
Well,
use
this
your
cannot fall
words.
on me, right? Yeah. Use your words, Bad Axe.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I think we've gotten through it. Before we wrap up, again, I just want to talk about what's happening on the channel. Obviously, this is the start of something new and exciting. I will not be back, but you will be back next Wednesday.
You'll be back.
Oh,
not next Wednesday.
Yeah. So this is going to be one of our new formats. This is going to be next Wednesday is our next hobby show, and we're going to have we have a lot of people with things to kind of talk about in the hobby and things like that. So Brett's going to be on next week with you talking about some very exciting material. We'll discuss it very soon. So it's going to be next Wednesday, same time. Thank you so much for joining us, hanging out. As we learned, I learned a lot during the stream. So hopefully you enjoyed it. If you do want to see more of this content, the best way you can do that is show your support, like it, subscribe, and kind of just share it with your friends. I know we have been in the past mostly known as a tactics channel, as a battle reports channel, and we've done just a little sprinkling of hobbying. You know, I've been kind of doing a bit more in the new year, but we really want to kind of expand on this and do more. Other than that, we have a bunch of other cool stuff happening. Like I said, tomorrow is Age of Sigmar. It's going to be myself playing against Mel. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be fun.
And then on Saturday, we of course have the return of the Adeptus Mechanicus with the official release of their book. And Bridger is going to be playing the Vault, which we were actually given from our mods and from a group of people that worked very hard to bring it to us. And so that's going to be Saturday, talking about also some new pre-release stuff for Warhammer 40K.
Ooh, yeah.
So much stuff going on, right?
Missions gonna get a big mix-up. Yeah.
I cannot wait to discuss it and just try new stuff.
It's gonna be big.
Whatever happens, like new stuff is cool. So that's stuff that's going on here. Anyone you want to say any final words?
No, that's it, guys. I think we did it.
Yeah.
Guys,
really fun.
Thank you so very much for joining us. We're reminding you, be kind to each other, be kind to yourself, and always be creative.